go into my best friend's place in Massachusetts here in a few weeks to work on it. So we're actually going to try to get the demo up.
Very cool. Yeah. So we did for, so Lonzo, I don't know, another person in our community, he also works with people who do like, it was the craziest thing I've ever heard of, but it's almost like, yeah, he had a name for it. It was like a video game smash or something like that. But basically they all have like a challenge or a theme, and then all of them
Okay,
have
yeah.
like 48 hours to make some sort of a game like really quickly, and then they compare and see who does the best or whatever. I thought that was a really nifty concept.
Game Jam.
That's it. Yeah, that's what he called it, a game
Yeah, yeah,
jam.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, you're familiar with
Yeah,
it.
yeah. We
I
yeah, yeah.
I
We talked about whether or not we should do one while we're working on it, but we'll see.
yeah, absolutely blew me away that we're to a point where people can just roll out a fucking video game in 48 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's nuts
yeah.
to
It,
me.
it depending on how simple it is. Yeah, I watched somebody I watched a couple of YouTube videos of people doing it. Somebody made like a three boss battle Souls like game from scratch in like 3 weeks.
Yep. That
They
sounds
did
about
the
right.
artwork themselves too.
Yeah, and even that right there, calling it Souls like, that's Dark Souls, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know I sound like a boomer, but that was
No, no, no. That's good.
that was a series that kind of avoided me, was the Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That's also like the no, Elden Ring, right? Elden Ring
Elden
is,
Ring is a Souls like. Yeah.
yeah, okay, thought so. Yep, and somebody gave me that game, and I tried it 3 times, and I just cannot get into it. I don't know why. Everybody tells me it's the greatest game ever built, and it just
Well, it's
doesn't.
hard as fuck. So,
Yeah, well, maybe that's what it is, but it just for some reason doesn't tickle my particular tisms. So, anyways, okay. So we are rolling. We are live. Welcome in, everybody. We have Cypher tonight, and we are going to be having a conversation. This is a new thing we're going to be doing on the stream. We're on Thursday nights. I'm going to be bringing people in and just kind of having a one-on-one conversation and just kind of getting to pick their brain and have conversations and figure out more about the people in our sphere and find out what they're into. Cypher, and hopefully I don't get this wrong, but Cypher is part of the No Kings protests organization, specifically in a town that was near and dear to my heart, Austin, Texas, where I happen to live for 20 years. And so finding out what's going on down there just in general, especially in relation to how that's being received, is going to be very interesting to me. Just to kind of give you guys a little bit of insight, Austin was always a very blue community. Keep Austin weird was, Austin was weird before Portland ever thought to be. So that said, like I Austin started to become, there's no other word for it but gentrified, in the 20 years that I lived there, and I watched as the culture of Austin changed dramatically, and it started becoming more corporate. And so I'm very interested in hearing how much of the deep blue weirdness still exists in Austin, and how much pushback the corporate elites have given to things like No Kings. I'm also going to be asking some questions in regards to the history of the No Kings protests, and trying to get more into the future of them as well. So I'm also going to be having another person after Cypher, but it turns out, and this was apparently, and this might actually be a good segue into you give me a little bit more explanation about the people behind No Kings. The Indivisible is the name, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, that's correct. That's what I'm familiar with.
Apparently, Gorps, the other person I'm talking to tonight, works with other organizations within Indivisible. So Indivisible is not just responsible for No Kings; they also do other things as well. So that's going to be my first question to you. First of all, how did you get involved in this? Second of all, what do you know about their backstory and their history?
Yeah, so I can really only talk to Austin specifically. I'm not really connected into the indivisible groups within Austin, except through the organization that I partners with them for No Kings specifically in Austin. But just kind of a little bit of a backstory from what I understand, Indivisible was started before the No Kings protest. It was a national organization that has local organizations. And when I say local, I mean like there's 5 surrounding Austin or 6 surrounding Austin. So even though Austin is like in the center of Texas pretty much, even like they got Indivisible like 1413, which is like I think in like North Austin, they have Indivisible Onion Creek, which is in like South Austin. So they have a bunch of different Indivisible organizations. And the majority of them work with Indivisible Austin, and Indivisible Austin and Indivisible 1413 works with a group called Hands Off Central Texas. And Hands Off Central Texas is really a group that was born out of a couple of the Indivisible empty chair town halls. So if you remember back in, right after Trump was reelected, there was a lot of questions about whether or not Congress and senators would hold Trump accountable should he ever overstep his bounds. And there was all these asks for town halls with specifically Republicans, but Democrats as well, to come out and actually speak to constituents. And ours was John Cornyn. He was supposed to be there. He was invited for this one specifically, and he refused to show up. So it became an empty chair town hall. And that's actually kind of where Hands Off Central Texas origin story starts. I didn't know this at the time, but our president, Sophia, I will reserve her last name just in case anybody out there wants to play games, but obviously you can look it up, was actually a participant at that empty chair town hall. She was one of the people that I talked to there, and Indivisible representatives were there as well. And after she spoke, they're like, we got to get her. We got to bring her into our group. And from those conversations, that's where Hands Off Central Texas was born. Hands Off Central Texas and 5051, which is 50 protests, 50 states, one movement. That's what 5051 stands for. Got together and did the first No Kings and a couple of the first Hands Off protests in Austin. They had like a May Day protest. They had a Know Your Rights thing. They had a bunch of other different stuff. And from that, Hands Off Central Texas and its partnering organizations was basically working with Indivisible to put on the first No Kings. And that's when I started interfacing with them, was just before the first No Kings. They put on a Hands Off our veterans protest in front of the state capitol in Austin, where they had veterans speak from all the way from World War II. They had a World War II veteran there that spoke, just talking about how we didn't want to see veterans' healthcare being taken away, veterans' benefits being taken away, sending more people to war, that sort of thing. And it was a bunch of veterans there. And prior to that, I was trying to get involved with them, but that was the first thing I showed up to. And from there, went to the John Lewis protest, went to No Kings 1, No Kings 2, and now No Kings 3. No Kings 2 is when I actually started being directly involved as an organizer with Hands Off Central Texas. So I can talk about how No Kings 2 went and how No Kings 3 is going, and kind of a little bit of the evolution from there.
Sure. Keep going. You're doing great. I've got questions, but I'll wait until you're done. So go ahead.
Yeah. So No Kings 1, I attended that protest. That was where there was basically, we did a march. We protested at the Texas State Capitol. There was people dressed as clowns. It was very much a let's clown on the Trump administration and all the bullshit that they're doing because they're just a bunch of clowns. That was like the kind of the theme of it. So we had like a ringmaster, a person that was a professional clown, actually dressed up as a ringmaster and was our MC. And we had a bunch of speakers there, some electeds, some activists. And
when did you say that was? When did you say that was?
I want to say that was in April of last year. I think that was the first No Kings.
Got it.
14th, I think, but don't quote me on the dates. They escape me. 1 second.
April 2025 is good enough.
All right. So, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So it was great. We had chicken dances. We had people talking about stuff, really invigorated speeches. But because this was our first protest, or their first protest rather, I won't say that was part of organizing that one. There was a lot of lessons that they didn't know. How to properly control the crowd, right? How to prevent the crowd from going out into the streets at night and doing games, right? That sort of thing. They did as much as they could to prevent that, but there was some issues afterwards that got lumped in with Hands Off that wasn't Hands Off. It was a separate group, but ours ended and another one continued or was going on at the same time, so it all got lumped together. From that, No Kings 2, we decided to do something different. Prior to No Kings 2, we actually put on the first Labor Day and labor organized labor unions protest and march for Labor Day in Austin that hadn't been done in like 20 years. So we gathered 30 or so labor unions from, hard hats to, pink shirts to blue collar to white collar, like unions up and down the chain to get people involved in union organizing. So we put together that protest. And that protest, we had to kind of adjust what we were going to do because they had a march, but we didn't get the permit to actually be at the Capitol properly. There was a timing issue. So what we did was you can still be at the Capitol. We were able to do on the Capitol lawn. We couldn't have speakers or anything. So what we instead, we quickly pivoted and said, we're going to have a picnic. And the picnic is going to have a bunch of people basically on blankets tabling at that event to get people plugged into union organizations. This was phenomenal. Labor unions in Austin and Central Texas and Texas in general gave us so much praise for this because this is like, again, it was the first time in like decades that it happened, and they met a ton of new people and were able to recruit and get their message out. That led us to do No Kings 2 completely differently than No Kings 1 did. And I was actually involved in the planning for that Labor Day stuff. So what we did for No Kings 2, we still had a march. We still went to the Capitol, but instead of marching at the Capitol, we marched away from the Capitol to Auditorium Shores, which is a giant park that's on the river in Austin, Texas. And at Auditorium Shores, we had great speakers. I sent you that video from the recap there. Beto O'Rourke spoke. Dan Weber, a veteran, spoke very impassionately. I can't remember the woman's name, but she was really good too, that spoke there. And at that one, we had additional civic organizations from basically the Lib-Left Coalition, because conservatives just typically aren't going to show up to these things. Even if they're invited, they're going to be like, no. But we had groups like Moms Demand Action, Austin for Palestine. We had some, I can't remember the name right now, but we had some group in Austin that focuses on increasing public transit. We had homeless organizations, a couple mutual aid organizations show up there. League of Women Voters has been a partner organization with us the whole time, so they were there to register voters, and up and down the chain from there. 62 organizations at Auditorium Shores to onboard people into activism. Okay. That is what our goal is. So No Kings 3, we currently have 80 organizations and counting.
That's the one coming up for the 28th, correct?
That's the one coming up for 28th. So Austin, Texas specifically has about 80 organizations. We have some friendly businesses there. They're going to sell T-shirts and like other things. We have a couple of mutual aid organizations working together to sell baked goods as a bake sale to raise money for homeless people as well as other families in need. We have bands that are coming. We have drag performers that are coming, and all those organizations and setting it up kind of like in our mind, we consider it like a Renaissance festival. So we have different communities of different villages set up in different themes. So like justice, environmental, whatever the case may be, kind of clustered together at Auditorium Shores with signs that we're going to have pointing everywhere and things to, again, onboard people into local, sustained civic action. Not just rah, fuck Trump, but like actual on the ground helping people. And that's what we're trying to do in Austin.
Okay. So I do have a whole bunch of questions. I'm sorry if I get a little bit distracted because my cat, whenever I'm sitting in here, wants to be in my fucking face nonstop. So she's a thirsty bitch. So if I lose my train of thought in the middle of the conversation, please forgive me. So my first question, as far as that, thank you, cat. As far as the beach blanket bingo you described, which I think is a pretty goddamn amazing workaround. How did APD respond to that? Like, did they see, like, because I'm sure that they understood that you guys were just finding a clever way to circumvent their prohibition. Did they seem supportive of it? Did they seem, or were they like, was there any pushback or adversarial nature from the police?
There was not from APD, but from TPS. So not TPS, the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Yeah,
So
DPS, Department of Public Safety. Yeah,
so you get it, DPS.
DPS.
We got it. So there was a little bit from them, but not a lot. They were basically like, you can't march to the Capitol steps. So I was there trying to like corral things and like make sure that anybody that showed up early, like I kind of just like fell into this because they were expecting me somewhere else, but I showed up there because there's miscommunication. Thankfully, I was there because I was able to direct the march. And basically, they're like, hey, you can't march up to the Capitol. So they were planning to like march up to the Capitol and like kind of come around. And instead, I was just like, no, this way.
Yeah.
Way. And so they just like, they got to the walkway and just banked a left and went to where we had set up. And that was it. And they said that we couldn't have amplified sound. So even the bullhorns were like a no-go. But other than that, there wasn't anything they really did, which I think that's fine. Like there's permits for that. They didn't like, I think they were looking for excuses to like tell us to go away, but they weren't doing it. So
they were ready to,
kind of like it's a good tech. Yeah, it sounded they might have been ready to, but we didn't like violate any of the ordinances or anything like that. So they didn't really like mess with us afterwards. Or it was like, oh, you're doing that? Okay, that's fine. So, and it could have just been one asshole or one guy that was like not even necessarily being an asshole, but just acting like a cop because that's what cops have to do. So
you said it. Okay. So okay, going back. So I just want to make sure you were saying that the Hands Off Central Texas was before the first No Kings. Remind me how that. Yeah, that's what turned into the No Kings for Austin.
I think Hands Off Central Texas was really like the umbrella organization where everybody that was from different organizations, Indivisible, League of Women Voters, 5051, and whatever other organization that existed kind of got funneled into, just because everybody needed to direct all of those other organizations for a central thing. And after that central thing was directed, Hands Off started doing its own thing. And so one of the things Hands Off has done that I am very proud of, I did not get to participate in this, but it's something that I'm like, we did good job on this, was we originally had a event planned for the 4th of July. It's like, come and enjoy your freedom at our barbecue kind of thing, right? So we're going to have like that kind of event. And Texas got flooded, as everybody knows.
Yeah.
So we pivoted from that within like 2 days to, instead of doing any event, direct mutual aid. 20, 30, 40 volunteers got together like over a weekend because people were like on vacation and stuff like that. It was nuts, but got together, went over to the surrounding areas, did trash pickup, did trash pickup, one of them directed helicopter aid, like because the state wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
To one of the things. They I think our vice president literally like helped bring a helicopter down to drop off water.
That's crazy.
It was nuts.
Yeah.
And from that and that experience, they decided they're going to set up their own mutual aid organization to help house people that were impacted by the flood. And so through our small network of people and our own donations, we ended up being able to help 30 or 40 people get at least temporary housing for a full month at like various hotels and things.
So I know
the state wasn't able to provide.
I know that this was not the reason for it, but I have to say you cannot buy PR like that. Like the fact, like no. It's tragic that happened, but it gave you guys a level of credibility for you to be able to transition into
100%.
something directly impactful like that as more of a response group. That's really cool. So, all right,
yeah, 100%.
So this empty chair town hall. I've got to ask, like, that sounds to me like one of the most disrespectful things that an elected official could possibly do, in my humble opinion. But what was the general response like from the people? So you said this lady who will remain nameless got up and spoke and was just such an orator that everybody was like, rah rah, let's go. Were there other speakers? Was it just kind of like a whole bunch of people standing around and lots of cricket sounds? Were people like, I'm surprised that there weren't aggressive protests directly led off of an elected official standing up a town hall like that. Like, what was the general vibe? Do you know, or like how was the people's response?
So I can talk to
and did that politician face any sort of consequences or blowback from that?
No blowback, because again, Texas being Republican state, they looked at these empty town chairs as like just liberal propaganda. Yep. Why show up to just for a bunch of liberals to yell at you, kind of thing, right? So that's
your fucking job. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with you. So it was called an empty town chair town hall, because it was expected that they wouldn't.
Oh, okay. So we knew in advance. I got you. Okay.
Yes. They were expected to not show up, but the invitation was there. There was somebody dressed as the Grim Reaper, as like, this is the death of democracy. Like, it was a whole thing. They had a couple of people, I think it was from Indivisible, talking, and they had other elected officials that were fielding questions as they could.
But in general, it was performative.
Yeah. I mean, okay. A little bit. Like I said, the invitation was still standing. They still could have showed up. This was it's going to be an empty chair if you don't show up. Yeah. We're still going to have this if you don't show up. We're still going to have electeds here to talk if you don't show up. So we had an Austin City Council member show up, and I want to say it was Donna Howard, who is a local Texas congressional rep, show up as well. But I am not 100% remember if it was her specifically, but I think it was. And they fielded questions from the audience to talk about, like, how can we keep, our rights going, and what can the state of Texas do, or what can the city of Austin do to like ensure that there's no overreach from the Trump administration or whatever the hell else was happening.
Yeah.
They fielded questions from the audience. Some audience members took it upon themselves during those questions to speechify. And some of those were nixed, not because of what they were saying, but because that wasn't the point. So they didn't want somebody to go on for like 4 minutes to talk about something. With the president of Hands Off Central Texas, what she did is at some point in there, she basically told everybody how to get involved. Like, this is how you get a hold of your local rep. This is how you sign a petition. This is how you start a petition. This is how you can interface with this Texas legislature, like go to, sign up here. Like, she just listed off all those things in like quick succession, passionately talking about like our rights and things like that. And that's what got people to be like, yeah. Cause even I approached, like, I didn't know, like, nobody knew each other there at the time. There was a couple people that did, but like, I started talking to her. I'm like, I was like, you gonna run for office? like it had that kind of feel to it, right? Like, and so I'm just like, I had no idea how old she was or anything like that. I'm just sitting there like, this was good. You should be involved in something. And then I learned about my merry way, not thinking there was anything else happening. And lo and behold, they like recruited her, which is it's just a funny story. Yeah. It's just like, wow, okay.
Well, it's also funny because that's a question that I'm going to circle back to. I do have some questions regarding political ambitions in regards to the No Kings movement or Indivisible, but I got a couple more questions before I get to that. So you said something about the fact that she had and to tie into that, rabble rousers, right? There is something to be said about a person who can motivate the masses. And I'm just curious, what is there a difference in your mind between a protester and an activist?
Yeah, there actually is. So to me, a protester is someone that shows up to a protest and doesn't necessarily do much else. Like, they could be involved in some civic organizations, but they're a participant. They're not a person that's helping lead. An activist is a person that helps lead. An activist, they help organize. They're volunteering all the time. They're doing the work that allows the protester, the participant, to get engaged and on ramp to those things.
The level of commitment.
That's how I would separate the two.
Yep.
No, the level of commitment involved definitely 100%.
Checks out. I was actually at I believe it was the No Kings one in Olympia up in Washington, the state capital up here, which for what it's worth, I've made this reference many times. Whenever I first moved to Austin back in the late 90s, it was roughly the size of Olympia now. Like Olympia now reminds me a lot of what Austin was like when I moved there. By the time that I moved away, Austin was like Seattle. Right. Which, again, anybody who's in Washington understands the the significance of that shift. But that said, there's a lot of similarities between Austin and Olympia when it comes to politics and vibe, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious, what was the public's general reaction to either of the No Kings? The first one, which was, I guess, the public, or the beach, the picnic tables, or the picnic blankets, or for that matter, like you talked about DPS, but what was the vibe like coming from the people and the people on the streets?
Yeah, so for the first No Kings, it was really more of a march and a rally. There was tabling at the Capitol, but we had like 20,000 people or so show up to the Texas State Capitol, and you really can't table at the Capitol.
Did you say
with that many
20,000 people?
I did.
Fucking shit, bro. Okay.
Yeah, that was at the first one. 10 to 20,000 was the first one. The second one was 30 to 40,000.
And I ask again, in general, how was the public's response?
Yeah. So it would depend on where you sit politically. A lot of people that were more left, and one of the organizers for No Kings 1 had this complaint, and they no longer partner with us. Now they had other things going on, personal life and stuff like that. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's just this, but they said, why are we getting a permit? Why are we, getting the police cordon? Why are we doing all this stuff? Like, you're trying to protest a fascist regime. Why are you following the rules? Just show up with a mic and lead people, right? Because they have a different take on it, right?
Burn it down philosophy. Yep.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of that. I don't want to like talk shit.
I know. But this goes back to the activists versus protesters, because in my personal estimation, an activist would understand that you have to work within the confines of, in order to actually change from within. Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna. But yeah, I see the.
I would say I would consider both of those groups. Just personally, I would consider both of those groups. I understand where you're coming from, so I'm not meaning to argue about it.
No.
I would consider both of those people to be activists. They just have different political philosophies on how the best way is to get people engaged, right? And so from the more left perspective of it, they called it a parade because it was sanctioned. People showed up, they rah-rah, went home and felt good about themselves. And that is a fair criticism, right?
Yeah.
That's a fair criticism from that kind of thing.
Funny enough, that's on the list of questions as well. So go on.
Yeah. So we actually took that feedback for No Kings 2. And so No Kings 1, like I said, was mostly a march and a rally and then go home. There was some stuff that happened at night that wasn't us, but the people were there. People like Antifa showed up, some Black Bloc people showed up, and there was some, I don't think there was like any like direct confrontation or anything, but I think DPS actually deployed tear gas to disperse the crowd at night. After, it was either at this one or a different one that happened to, but it did happen. And so from that angle, that's how the leftists looked at it. The liberals looked at it like, okay, what's next, right? They were very excited. They liked what we did. They were thankful, right? What's next? Okay. And we didn't have a good answer for them because 20,000 people at the Texas State Capitol can't do the tabling, can't do the other actions. We gave them other actions, but it's 20,000 people. Not everybody can hear.
Yeah.
Like it was a little bit of a mess,
especially because
right?
you couldn't have the microphones. You said, yeah.
Oh, we couldn't have the microphones at the Labor Day one. We could at No Kings 1.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't have enough sound. We didn't have enough sound to project for 20,000 people all the way back to the street, so people couldn't hear. Like it was a little bit of a mess, a little bit of a learning curve, and we went into debt. Like people got the best that they could with just learning how to organize that many people, having that large of an event. So we didn't have the speakers that we needed to project out sound. We didn't have like, I think the Porter Johns weren't available at this one. Like, there's a bunch of stuff. Like, so people had to go inside the Texas Capitol to use the restrooms. A whole bunch
I'm
of
sure
stuff.
they loved
allowed us
that.
to do that one. They didn't mind it. They told us no for No Kings 2. So we actually had to come up with an additional $7,500 to get our own Porter Johns.
Checks
They
out.
tried to make it more expensive so we wouldn't be able to do it again, right? Every time the Texas state is trying to make it more expensive for us. So it was fair criticism. That's why we did the Labor Day protest the way that we did, the Labor Day march, and I wouldn't even call it a protest, day of action, I would say. Labor Day of action. And then that's why No Kings 2 had the organizations there, the 60 plus organizations, to people on an on-ramp to getting civically engaged, signing petitions, whatever the case may be. From the liberal side, conservatives are like, Trump is not a king, he's not a dictator, you're just raging leftist. Like, that's how they viewed it, even though I would say the majority of people that showed up to these protests are more on the liberal side of the political spectrum rather than the leftist side.
Or
like
independent.
people showed up with their kids.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't a lot of black bloc there, right?
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of people at the first one anyway showing up with fuck ICE or like the only good officer is a dead one. Like, there wasn't like a lot of that. There was a couple here and there, but it wasn't a lot.
So going back to the Olympia experience that I had, this was one of the things that I do tend towards being more conspiracy minded, full disclosure. And it did seem to me like I'm not making any accusations, but I did think that it was interesting how amazingly peaceful and good vibes I was experiencing until later on we sort of seemed like it feels like sometimes those people show up to ruin a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, and it goes back to what you were saying about that other activist or that other organizer and the fact that it's like, well, we need to shake shit up more. We need to, like, whether it's because you want to make the organization look bad or because you don't believe that this is an effective form of protest, either way, it seems like it's counterproductive to the movement. So yeah, I kind of experienced some of that as well. I'm curious, and because this is something that Gorps works with directly, and I was wondering, did you guys have the handmaids at any of your, like, is that a thing at the other?
We had a couple. We had one at that empty. We had a couple at the empty chair. We've had a couple at every protest. People would show up in handmaidens. I don't know if we worked with the organizations that represent those people here.
They might have just been independently there.
I think they were independently there. I don't think there was anybody. Like, our big thing is that, I wouldn't say it's a big thing. I think we work with a lot of drag performers and trans people a little bit more than maybe some other organizations do. Other than that, I think it's been, like I said, it's been mostly, various different activist groups. And for the first two No Kings, some elected officials, which we are not doing for No Kings 3.
Again, like I said, that one's still on my list. So, but before I do, you had said something about the fact that generally conservatives, you didn't get much of a showing of conservatives. That was one of the other things that I was pleasantly surprised by, was how many people said, and I voted for him, or had like signs. They were like, I made a mistake. Like, how many people, at least here in Washington, were like, yeah, nah, like I was a conservative. I still am a conservative, but fuck this. Right. So it's kind of surprises me that Austin, being the larger version of Olympia, didn't have sort of a similar vibe where you guys would get the showing of the non-TDS conservatives, you know what I mean? Like the non-cultists.
Yeah. I don't want to say none were there. It's just none of the organizations that might represent those people.
And
like
they weren't as
Trump
open about it
organizations.
or obvious.
Yeah, it could
Gotcha.
have been some of that. You gotta like, Texas is one of those states where, I mean, you've lived here, so you know that the majority of people are conservative, or at least are worried that the majority of conservatives would say something, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like, Austin is a blue dot, a pretty big blue dot. I would say there's probably more of that in the surrounding counties. So No Kings, like, there's No Kings 1, there was less other No Kings organizations happening around Austin. So there was just basically Austin. It was basically a city. So it was like Austin and San Antonio. I think they had something in Waco. But
I
now
got
the
to ask,
surrounding counties.
how did Williamson County deal? Because for those of you who do not know the lore, Williamson County is the scary northern brother of Austin. So I'm just curious. Like, was
So Williamson County and Round Rock has their own No Kings protest. I don't think they had one for No Kings 1, but they definitely had one for No Kings 2. And I'm in direct talks with them to make sure that whatever Austin is doing, they're aware of, so that they can either end theirs before our start, or there's can be some more communication.
still
back
you
and
can at
forth.
least collaborate or whatever? Yeah, you're not stepping
Yeah.
on each other's toes. No, that totally
Yep.
checks out. That makes sense.
Yeah, we tried to do the same thing with San Antonio, but the distance made it where it's like, there's no really way we can really do this anyways. So
Yeah.
we just let San Antonio do its own thing. But when we were doing media releases for San Antonio, I specifically reached out to the San Antonio group to make sure that any media organization that we did that was Spanish speaking, we weren't stepping on their toes if they had contacted Spanish speaking media in order to promote their event. And at the time, they hadn't done that yet. So we reached out. I don't know what became of that. If we were able to get in the paper or anything, but we've done a lot better since No Kings 2 about getting Spanish interpretation at our events. So No Kings 3 is going to have a lot of Spanish interpretation. We have 4 or 5 native speakers that are going to translate right after someone speaks at our event for No Kings 3.
So that's actually a great segue into one of the next questions that I had for you. You mentioned the DPS presence. You have not mentioned the other organizations. So I'm curious, there hasn't really been any ICE presence in Austin, has there?
So that is hard to say. The reason being is because ICE works with DPS.
Yeah.
And the Texas legislature this past legislative session passed an ordinance that required all police and sheriff organizations to honor ICE detainers. So what is happening with that is there's been a couple of raids that have happened or concerns of raids that have happened outside some schools, but it's been a lot lower profile. They've been doing the surrounding areas from what I know. It's not that it's not happening, because Texas is actually rounding up the second most amount of people next to Minneapolis or something like that. But a lot of those are coming from the jails and that sort of thing. So
And that was
it's
why I was
happening.
asking. I felt like
It's
these protests
lower on the radar.
Yeah, these protests would be a
feel
place
like.
that I would be worried that ICE would try to exploit. That's why I was
Yeah.
asking. So, but that hasn't, you haven't seen really any of that.
No, we haven't seen ICE at any of these protests, and I think because they're so large, and specifically for No Kings 1 and 2, we had electeds there, and the reason the electeds were there at these ones is for some of that protection that they would give, right? ICE and DPS isn't going to start shooting anybody with anything if a congressman is right there.
God, I hope you're right.
I hope so too. But that's
Like,
the-
it's a
that was
bold
the
statement,
assumption.
sir, but okay. Yeah.
You understand? Yeah, but
I
you
do.
understand.
Yeah. Okay. So now, a couple of the other questions that I said I was kind of holding off on. So, what, to the best of your knowledge, is, well, so there's 2 questions. Number 1, the future, and number 2, the successes. I'll start with the successes. What, in your estimation, do you think has actually been the meaningful differences made by the No Kings protests? Do you believe, like, is there any place that you can show? Because you mentioned earlier that there were accusations or claims that it was mostly performative, or that it was like people were going there to make themselves feel better, like a Sunday Christian, right? They were going to the protest to, hey, show my solidarity, but then I go home and do nothing else about it.
Right.
How much do you think this has actually managed to change the zeitgeist, or how much do you think this has actually pushed the needle? And what metrics can you use for that, if any?
It is really, really hard to say. Mainly because one of the big metrics that we would be able to see is elections. If people are more civically engaged and present in the civic process, then we would see that come out in elections as the big kind of overarching one. For Austin specifically, like I said, every single organization that we partnered with for No Kings 2 and is going to show up for No Kings 3, they're showing up for No Kings 3 because of the success that No Kings 2 was. We had I think one mutual aid organization at No Kings 2 because everybody's like, I don't know, you're all a bunch of liberals. We have more at No Kings 3 because we've made the inroads with those communities, because we've actually had people show up and actually do the work. One of the things that was funny though is like the Communist Party in Austin showed up and tabled without our permission at No Kings 2, which is just funny.
Yeah.
So even though they weren't wanting to officially partner, they showed up anyways. So that shows you some success in that, at least for the amount of people. Beto O'Rourke, when he spoke at No Kings 2, actually did like a 9-minute interview with one of our people.
Did he jump on
Shelby.
any tables?
He didn't jump on any tables, but he did do a very powerful speech on that, and like promoted us on his own channel because of the work that we're doing. So I feel like, at least for Austin specifically and Hands Off Central Texas, I feel like what a lot of our members say, the people that are engaged in the organizing activity daily at this point, right, is that we are an on-ramp to civic engagement, on-ramp to activism.
And the best
And
metric
it
would be
seems
the
like that is-
participation. Yeah.
Exactly. And it seems like that is actually coming through with people volunteering for us. We've set up a system for people to sign up to volunteer. We've had various different art exhibits and things like that people showed up and actually bought art from our photographers, from some of the artists that have partnered with us to show solidarity and, you know, get people paid, because this is all volunteers. Like, everybody that's working, nobody is getting paid for this. Nobody. Like, anybody says that we're getting paid, no. We had to come up with $30,000. Like, we barely went into the black for No Kings 2. Like, it's ridiculous, guys.
So
with how much money it cost.
So with that, on the Indivisible website, there are career options and career.
Yes.
So do those people not get paid?
No. So I can only speak for Austin specifically. Our people are not paid. We're all volunteers.
Got you.
But when you run a national organization, and when that national organization gets big enough to where it needs to like partner with local organizations, stuff like that, your top people are going to get paid. That just has to happen, because that becomes a full-time job, right?
Yep.
So just like any other nonprofit.
Yep.
The March of Dimes CEO, I looked this up like a decade ago or whatever. March of Dimes CEO gets like $900,000 a year, 10 years ago. You can only
Sounds
imagine
about
what he
right.
gets
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like that's going to happen.
I have always
And
had a
there
peeve
might
with
be
the term
some-
nonprofit because of that, for what it's
Yes.
worth. And I
Yes.
I get it. I like it, but it's still, it's like, if you,
Yeah, should
I,
you be making that much money? Like it's very hard. But when you think about March of Dimes, like for March of Dimes specifically, it's actually a global organization.
Sure.
So this guy is like traveling all over the world. So
Yep.
they should be compensated at least to a degree.
I
that
get
that
it.
is-
Yeah, like I said, I'm very torn. I feel this way about pastors and preachers, for what it's worth as well.
Yep.
Like, it's like, dude,
Oh,
if
yeah,
you got
no,
a
it's all
calling,
very. It's all very.
yeah. So again, well, then that brings me to the biggest question, right? And the most important one is the future. As I was looking, kind of scrolling through the website, and I was looking up some, because I was kind of preparing for tonight as much as I could, and looking up some articles and some information about Indivisible, et cetera, et cetera. I actually found a pretty interesting news article that had some quotes from the guy who is the one who's running it, and I'm curious. There have been many different activist organizations that developed into political parties and movements, things such as the Tea Party, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that there is any aspirations for an indivisible political party, or at the very least, some sort of like political backing? So I'm going to read real quick. Ezra Levine, that's the guy, co-founder of the grassroots movement Indivisible, commented, "The size of this year's primary engagement is indicative of the chasm between rank and file Democrats and the Democratic leadership right now. People want a different version of the Democratic Party from what we've got." Does that not sound to you kind of like somebody who has political aspirations of their own, or at the very least is about to try to do things to take over or change the...
Sure. I'm not sure. And the reason I say that is because Indivisible and all the other organizations that work with us, anyways, for Austin specifically, are 501c3s. 501c3s are civic organizations that can't directly participate in direct partisan politics. League of Women Voters, if they were, one of the reasons why we have left electeds is because the league was worried that their 501c3 status would be threatened because we had too many electeds there, so it's seeming partisan, right? You can have like a candidate forum, fine. But if you have a candidate forum and only one party shows up, then that gives the other party an excuse to be like, that organization should no longer have its 501c3 status, which is tax exemption, right?
Yeah.
And so Indivisible, I believe, is a 501c3.
It is.
And as such, it can't do direct political activism, but it can do civic engagement. And civic engagement doesn't mean it's not political. It just means it's not partisan. So that's why we have all these things like we're doing things. We avoid criticizing Trump directly, right? That's why it's no kings, not Trump. One of those reasons, right? It's a lot of like there's some games where I'm not gonna like blow smoke up your ass,
sure,
but it's not direct partisan because we want conservatives to come with us. We want Republicans to come with us because if you are a patriot, you should be like, yeah, no kings makes sense, right? If you are a civic nationalist on that side of the political spectrum, right, then you should be like, yeah, I want the America that I love to still have all its freedoms and everything like that. And anybody that comes up and tries to violate the Fourth Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Third, the Fifth, like Seventh, like any of those like top 10, right? You should be like,
they're like 10 Commandments,
kind of doing this stuff. Yeah, like Trump is kind of doing some shady shit, right? Like especially with legal search and seizures, the illegal detentions, the Kavanaugh stops, like all this stuff.
The authoritarian bingo card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These are all things that should be antithetical to what people on the right and the left on the American spectrum should be against. It should be antithetical to what they want. And so when they're saying stuff like the Democratic Party isn't where our voters are, that is more kind of an acknowledgement, in my opinion, of what the reality is, because they want more fighters. They want more pushback. Everybody understands that as a politician, you shouldn't really be an activist. You have to weigh cost and risk and cost benefit analysis and all that stuff. But rolling over, come on. That's what people mean when they want a fighter. It doesn't mean that they want somebody that throws bombs and says that Trump's a racist piece of shit all the time. They want somebody to stand on business, 10 toes down on business, and not fold. And Democrats have folded. But Democrats, because of all of the movements that are happening, because of the No King protests, because of showing up to town halls, all the civic engagement that's happening, are folding less and doing more pushbacks and trying to get more things done.
I wish that made me feel better than it does.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
It's not enough. Don't get me wrong. It's not enough, right? So, perfect example. A lot of people said that Democrats folded on the healthcare debate back in December when we got the budget passed, right? Fair enough. There was a lot of reasons for that. Nobody wanted to get blamed for travel plans getting canceled. No one wanted to get blamed for food stamps getting taken away from people right before Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like no one wanted to be blamed for these things, right? And they got a promise of a vote. That vote happened. It failed. Republicans look like pieces of shit. And then we got it again with the DHS, right? They passed their ICE budget with Trump's horrid bill, and now DHS isn't funded because we're trying to claw back some of that stuff. But we funded everything else other than DHS.
Yeah.
Which means that only Trump and travel is basically affected right now. Nothing that we care about is affected. We got food stamps done until December. We're still trying to work on healthcare. Even Republicans are coming over on healthcare. And so it didn't happen quickly, but there's a lot less folding that's happening now, and we have a bit more leverage. And that is because of the pushback that liberals and leftists have been doing to the Democratic Party, largely through organizations like No Kings or protests like No Kings, showing up to town halls, the engagement that people are doing in that.
So for what it's worth, I do want to clarify that my question regarding the political aspirations of the organization was not to insinuate that that's bad. It was actually low-key a wish Because the fact of the matter is, I am actually against both the Democrats and the Republicans because of exactly what you're talking about. So that said, hey, appreciate you there. I actually would love to hear of a unifying or a unification party where it's bringing people like myself, independents, and people that are still in the center of the Overton window,
Sure.
together to be able to feel good about getting back to a sensible America, right? I do also real quick, just as a side note, I'm mostly trying to ignore my chat here because we're talking, but I think it's funny. I think it's funny. We have several actual monarchists in the no kings conversation here. And the irony of that is just cannot be lost on anybody. We have several, I have a lot of British people who watch, and then we also have an American who's cheering for monarchy. So I just think that there's some untapped irony there. So basically what you're saying is, as far as you know, there is no actual interest. You mentioned the 501c. No, sorry, talking to CK there. 501 in what's the goddamn thing? 504NC.
501c3.
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 Thank you. Fuck, I'm gonna write that down. And I knew it. It's been a long day.
Oh, good.
So, there have been other organizations that started out that way, but then later on became partisan, correct? Like they would potentially be able to become partisan later on once they're more established.
It's hard to say. You can just dissolve your 501c3 or apply for 501c4 status, and those rules go away. That there's a legal process to that. You've established yourself as a 501c3, so board members have to vote. There's not public hearings, but within the grander structure of however you put up your bylaws, you have to follow those things. Planned Parenthood has Planned Parenthood Action. So Planned Parenthood is a 501c3. Planned Parenthood Action is a 501c4. The dollars between the two organizations are completely separate, and they can't donate to one or the other. So the dollar wall exists. But that's where a lot of Republicans say, oh, Planned Parenthood is just an arm of the Democratic Party because it's 501c4 organization, supports Democrats, because of course they do. Democrats aren't trying to outlaw abortion, right? So,
yeah.
So that could be a thing that might happen at some point. But I think some of the lead organizers are just more focused on the 501c3 aspect, and also understand that setting up another political party within the United States is kind of a fool's errand as long as we have first past the post, winner take all elections. The Electoral College has things that go along with that as well that force two parties essentially to happen without changes to how the Electoral College is done. But it's largely the first past the post, winner take all voting system that forces there to be two parties.
Yeah.
Once one party, and usually it's the Conservative Party, this is what always happens. Once one party goes off a cliff, though, all bets are off with how the other party can act because of the ratcheting effect and who votes and things like that.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
So, out of curiosity, where do I go to protest that first past the post system?
There's actually several organizations that are doing legislative work and legislative advocacy on the state level. I don't remember off the top of my head the big one, but there is one that is specifically for ranked choice voting. I think it's rcv.org, rankedchoicevoting.org, where that is their number one cause. And so they were instrumental in getting the mayor's election in New York being a runoff. They were instrumental in changing the voting system in Alaska, and anywhere else where ranked choice has happened. They've been there, and they are very much engaged in that fight. I think Andrew Yang started his own thing at one point.
He did
to do something similar. Not talking about the Forward Party because that was a mess. But there was something else specifically for ranked choice or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only
it
know
might have
about
been
the Forward Party.
Maybe
maybe.
I think there was something else.
All right.
But I mean, that's like basically defunct at this point. So
Yeah, well, as is Andrew Yang, unfortunately, because there were some things that he said that I was like, oh, I kind of that sort of resonated
Yeah.
with me, but then again, Vivek Ramaswamy had a few things that weren't completely idiotic, and look at him now. Um, so okay, so I'm gonna kind of, because we're about an hour in, I am gonna kind of change the tone slightly, and there has been a couple of questions from the chat or thoughts, and so I'm gonna kind of ask you a little bit more challenging. I asked you about how you can verify, measure, or judge the productivity of these protests. And we both agreed that the number of people who are actually involved the participation is the best metric to gauge. There are some people in my community and in my chat right now who seem to think that protest without threat is a hollow action. What would you say to that? And how do we, what makes you believe in the current situation, the way that it's set up, in the bipartisan situation with the system as it is in place, that simply the threat of us not voting for the politician will be enough to motivate a change in them?
I don't think that not voting is enough to change.
Okay.
I don't think that is what No Kings is doing, or pretty much any other organization other than the leftists are like, we're going to withhold our vote from the Democratic Party and let them deal with it, right?
Yeah.
I don't agree with that strategy. I do think that there is, I don't know how much truth there is to it, but an unarmed, like I see Vigilante in chat saying an unarmed protest is ineffective. I don't fully disagree, but I don't fully agree either, and I've leaned more to not agreeing, because what is the biggest fear a politician has? It's not necessarily an armed citizenry. It's a citizenry in uprising. Arms or not. And if you have enough people showing up to these protests,
civil disobedience,
because that's the goal, civil disobedience. The goal of these protests is to keep the pressure on until, and they use the 3.5% magic number. They want 3.5% of the population to engage in these protests, because if enough people are engaged and pushing pressure onto any regime, they can't kill us all. That's basically what it boils down to. They can kill a lot of people.
Iran tried really hard.
Right. So as doomerism as that is, as cynical, as morbid as that is, the more people that are showing up, the less likely a regime is to be maintained.
The power of unity.
Regardless if you're armed or not. Now, I did see that he said that they don't allow arms.
Yes.
The reason why they don't allow arms is because of legitimate death threats against elected officials that have showed up, against organizers, and vulnerable groups, disabled, whatever the case may be.
They need to be able to cry. They need to be able to cry wolf when they see it and know that it's an actual wolf. Yeah,
exactly.
No, that makes sense.
Yes, and that's why.
Not only that, but I also like the hose. Like Martin Luther King Jr. definitely should. Now, I understand that there are certain things that he said later on that some people have said lead to you thinking that he did not believe that that was the right choice, that the peaceful protest was not the right choice, and this and the other. I actually don't think that that's a fully accurate assessment of what he said, but whatever. The point here is that I do, at my core, because at the beginning of this, you were talking about, what a true patriot would be, and how a patriotic person would view what's happening in the United States, regardless of ideology or political affiliation. And one of the things that has always resonated with me from our founding papas was that a government should fear its people, not the other way around. Like, that's the summary. And so there is a part of me that has always, like, I don't vocalize it because that's how you get yourself on fun lists, but in the back of my back of my mind, it has never been lost on me that when the time comes, you don't talk about it, you do it, right? That said, I actually agree with what you're saying in regards to the civil disobedience. We don't have to be armed to be the thorn in their side. You can be the thorn in their side in multiple other ways. And Yeah, my next and this is going to be kind of like the last question, and then I'm just going to kind of go back over to you and letting you kind of rant it a little bit more for me, because I would like to see any videos or any pictures or anything like that you have or anything like that would be cool.
Let me get up.
Yeah,
Get up one.
word. So, fuck, I lost my train of thought and I didn't write this one down. God damn it. Thorn in their side. Can be a thorn in their side without having to resort to violence. Oh my god, it was a really important question too. Fuck me. Oh my god, I'm fired. All right, whatever. It'll come back to me.
You'll remember.
It'll come back to me as soon as we push play. So, yeah, if you have something that you can show, just click share into the Discord channel, and I can just kind of pull it up.
Yeah, just let me find the one that actually. Did I send you that?
I believe you did.
I think this is. All right, let me see here. I don't want to pull up Discord. Did share in Discord?
Yes, sir. Share your screen. There you go.
And then let me unmute it. Actually, you can hear it even if it's muted on my screen, right?
Should be able to. I think so, actually. Well, no. I have.
So let me go ahead and hit play. Can you hear it?
It is not playing yet.
Oh, it is. It's just I got
there it is.
Back open.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, but it's okay. Hold on.
Hey, that's Beto.
Hold on. I hate Instagram. I really do.
Never been on it. Yep.
Is it okay? I'm playing.
I can see it. Yep.
I see it on my screen.
I can see
you
it.
Hear it? No.
There is no audio yet.
Oh, that's why.
Moments of truth for America.
Fuck me, that hurt.
Is it too hot loud?
No, it's okay. I can adjust. I cranked it up on my end so that I could try to.
So I'll go ahead and reload it because what happened was I had the site muted through Google. So
no worries.
Hear it.
Sake hope at this moment. Instead, count yourself lucky to be alive at this moment of truth for America. And let's remember who we are, where we come from, and what we are made of. We are the people who defeated the most powerful empire on the planet to win our independence and to ensure that no American would ever bow to a king again.
This is a little long.
You are not alone. No matter what the pretend kings would have you think, you are not alone. We have each other. Bleed, march, resist, repeat. Bleed. Not as martyrs, but as revolutionaries. March, not for show, but for civically engaged political power.
You are fighting terror as warriors and experts in the application of non-violence.
Remember, we move together, shoulder to shoulder. We march as one movement, not scattered individuals.
Because in the United States of America and a democracy, we want public servants who serve us, not themselves.
For each of us, winning means deciding right now that our voices matter and that we have power.
Whether you are 5 generations or whether you got to this country 5 days ago, we count you as our fellow humans and our fellow Americans.
So that was put together by one of our videographers and editors. He goes by I don't want to.
Yeah, no.
But
yeah.
that was one of our guys. That was all footage from No Kings 2.
It's really well made.
We did our own footage of the drone.
I was going to ask, was that drone footage of Congress Bridge there? That or was that? Yeah, well done. Yeah,
it was yep. And so that was basically a recap of No Kings 2. And then and I can show something that I put together. So there's a bunch of stuff on this page, obviously, because the hands-off central.
And whenever you get a chance, if you would put a link to that into the Twitch chat, so people can see it and follow.
Yeah. Well, let's do that right now then.
Hold on. Please do.
All right. Okay. So 1 second. Twitch chat. There you go. All So there's that, and then these are the reels. And this is the video I put together for the promo for No Kings 3. So this is my voice in deep mode.
In a world
with a wannabe king. Let me go ahead and restart it.
Yes, I knew it.
Yeah. Oh man, come on. Stop muting automatically.
Yeah, this
with a wannabe king who is everything we feared. A tyrant and a grifter. And we're the powerful. Anthony, we stood up. We marched. We clowned. We showed joy, all to protect our Constitution and our neighbors. Austin, Texas. Your fight is our fight. And together, we will win.
So that was footage from No Kings 1, the
Jesus Christ.
The Labor Day one was a little bit no, not the Labor Day one. The redistricting protest when a congressperson that came back from from quorum breaking was held within the halls of the Texas Congress because they wanted her to sign away basically her privacy, and she said no, so they kept her there. Fucked up as that is. So that was the protest was that. And the giant Constitution was actually something that we printed out for Constitution Day. And we had, on Constitution Day, we had a bunch of people sign it. So it's got a bunch of signatures from people, just regular people, reaffirming that, like, we the people shall not be, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that was that too. And I'll drop that link here.
Yes, please.
As well. So that's that one that I just showed. And there's a bunch of stuff, like, you can go to the channel or whatever and just see a ton of photos and things like that.
So
let's go ahead and stop sharing.
That was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, close. So I actually did just as I said, as soon as you push play, I remembered what the thing I was going to say was. So we can both agree that nonviolent protest is the more productive form of protest. But where do your personal lines fall when it comes to nonviolent protest? How do you feel about interference protest? So in other words, like, and I had planned on bringing up BLM in a different way earlier, but during the because BLM put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth when it comes to protest and advocacy organizations, and there was, some drama and controversy, et cetera, and et cetera, whatever. The point is that they really pushed for people to, like, occupy the streets, right? Literally, when I was driving through downtown Seattle at one point on the freeway, people were hopping over the barriers and running out into the freeway to stop traffic, right? Now, there is I see both sides of this, and so I'm curious to find out where you land. Do you feel like that is more likely to affect change or more likely to draw the ire of the non-participants?
It really depends. So I believe that the inconvenience that people did when they took to the streets was not what pushed people away from it. I think it pissed off some people. They were going to be pissed off anyways, right? I'm trying to get to work, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I just don't agree with you. Why you here? Go away. Like I led a different protest in 2017. And I had people say, "Oh, you're just showing up, and you should go away. Stop, like, whatever you're doing." And we didn't. We kept to the sidewalk.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And
so, right.
Yes. Even whenever you're standing on the sidewalk, you're getting spit at and yelled at and thrown shit at and fucking the bird flips.
So I don't think that that's where the issues happened. I think where the issues happened is with Antifa and any of the agitators that infiltrated the organizations to cause trouble. I think that's where it came from. And a lot of that was, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do think it was agent provocateurs to do things. The prime example is what it might have been Seattle it was LA, where that guy was caught breaking windows at that AutoZone. And he's like, "I'm a civilian." No normal person talks that way. No normal person talks that way. As soon as he said that, I'm like, Fed.
Correct.
Cop.
Yep.
And he was like he. I think it was discovered that he wasn't a cop, but he was a Nazi.
Yeah. So another one, and you can put on a conspiracy hat whether you want to or not. But to the best of my knowledge, there was never any answers actually given. I believe it was in the Portland riots, protests, whatever you want to call it. They started out as protests, became riots, but that there were pallets of bricks, pallets of you. They were just randomly just sitting on street corners, like. That's
so
weird.
There was a couple of things with that. Some of that was explainable because there was. This is just bad planning on the city part, from what I remember, is that there was construction that was supposed to happen and an event where they needed to set up some makeshift barriers or something. Now, with that said, there was people in black vans driving around trying to hand people bricks to sit and then tell them go throw it into that building.
Yeah.
So
now that could have been agent provocateurs, or it could have also been the kind of black bloc people we were talking about earlier that are just coming up trying to set the
guy
can
looked
on
like
fire.
He was 50 in this particular example that I'm thinking of. The guy looked like he was 40. He wore like the douchebag sunglasses, like the old ones though from like the 80s, the cheap douchebag looking sunglasses, just all black. And he was balding and he just looked like, I'm like, that's a Fed, that's a cop, that's a Fed. Like I don't know where they were from, right?
Sure.
But I looked at that guy, how he acted, that the guy that was in the van that tried to give like a teenager a brick, and I'm like, no, he's not a leftist. He's not on our side. Like, he's just not acting like that person would, right? Black bloc people that were throwing soup cans were the kind that showed up with umbrellas to like put it in the faces to distract cops while they were throwing stuff at each other in Chicago. That was more like what a leftist would do.
Yeah.
The locking arms PVC pipe thing that feds actually got in trouble for doing at one point, that's more of a lefty tactic.
Yeah.
But driving around randomly and just trying to hand bricks to people?
Not so much. No. Yeah, no, that's true. So, okay. So then I guess we kind of touched all the bases that I wanted to. The only other question that I would ask, you were talking about No Kings 3. What exactly is the theme of No Kings 3? What exactly is it that they're protesting? I know you said that we're not calling it the Donald Trump protests, but they're kind of the Donald Trump protests.
Yeah.
I also know that Indivisible is associated or affiliated with other protest organizations. What exactly? Because there was the big walkout that took place, and I'm trying to remember what it was that was tied to. I believe it was the Milwaukee or Minneapolis situation, right? Mm-hmm. What exactly is it that the protest on the 28th is trying to accomplish? What is their goal, and how will they know if they've achieved it?
So for No Kings 3, I think this is more to keep up momentum rather than this one specifically than having any particular goal. For this one specifically, we have our own goals. Some of the other groups are doing similar things to what we're doing, more tabling, more onboarding people to activism, that sort of thing. But it doesn't have a specific goal because there's been already other protests that happened in between the big ones for specific goals. So when No Kings 2 happened right after Freddy got killed.
Yeah.
Or no, right after Renee Good got killed.
Okay,
right?
that was the one that I went to. That was so I guess it was 2 that I went to, not 1.
Yeah. So that happened right after Renee Good, I want to say. And then like a few weeks later, Preddy got killed. One of those people got killed. And there was another anti-ICE protest that happened. We had one in Austin at a Chili's because chili melts ice. And there's like this whole like little meme about that. And so we had one there, but it was also important because it was on a major thoroughfare from people going to and from or coming back from work from the north end. Or from the south to get back to Central.
That'd be Lamar?
So, yeah, I think it was along Lamar. And that one, we had like 300 people show up. And that was organized in 2 days.
Okay.
Right? So it was good shit.
So that's the basic, the goal is to get people continue to be involved, continue to be engaged so that when you guys need to, you can activate.
Yeah. Yes. And it's to onboard more people, right? And then if there is a No Kings 4, and I've only heard slight rumors about this, but chances are there will be, that will probably be sometime in the fall. And the goal for that would be to make sure people are engaged for the midterms.
All right. Well, we still have a couple minutes, so now I just kind of want to open up the microphone to you a little bit away from the No Kings, but also related to the No Kings. Cypher, what would Cypher's goals if Cypher had a magic wand? Because you strike me as a very reasoned out, very well thought out individual who is not going to just say the meme bullshit. What do you think are the 3 most meaningful changes that could be enacted in the United States right now to get us back on track towards what we probably would agree should be America?
All right. So do you want pie in the sky, or do you want
you got a magic you got a magic wand, brother, don't waste it.
All right. So pie in the sky, definitely reform the entire voting system.
Okay.
So every single state, no election can be won by somebody who gets less than 50% plus one person vote. However that looks, I don't really care. As long as we get rid of plurality, we're already 10 times better than where we're at. Because if we didn't have plurality, honestly, Trump probably wouldn't have won.
That's probably true.
The Democrats do it better for their primary, because they do delegate allocation based off of vote totals and some weird rules depending on the state. Like every state does it slightly different. Like some states you do caucus and then like 80% from the caucus results go, and then however your congressional districts voted in the caucus does more. So there's some weird stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's more like proportional. So the reason why Sanders was able to keep going is because he had 30% of the delegates. And so he could make deals in order to like bow out. And I think that's a better system than the Republicans have, because Republicans just winner take all. Okay. So that's the first thing, right? So you get rid of first past the post, you're golden on that. That's going to force good moderation, because not only the most extreme person can win in those situations, unless the entire party is completely insane, in which case we have a whole other problem.
Sure.
30% of the, MAGA, 30% of the Republican, 30% of the general public voting block is bought into 100% of what Trump does.
Yes.
That's down from 40%. So that's already losing people.
Yes.
Okay? So what can we do about them?
Most cults do lose people over time.
Yeah. So I don't know what we do about them, but I do think that they would have less power if they were 30%, 30%, 30%, because I don't think more people would vote for them, right? They wouldn't have that huge block that can get over that 34% threshold to win. I don't think it would happen. A thing that I think is reasonable, and it's kind of happening right now, is getting rid of ICE. And I don't mean getting rid of immigration enforcement. I mean getting rid of
the
ICE.
Gestapo.
You still have you still have immigration enforcement of some kind, but not in its current structure, and certainly not with the bullshit, no requirements, get anybody you can into this stuff that we have now. Because anytime you lower the requirements to any police agency, especially one like ICE, you're going to get shitbags in there. And what we saw, this has already happened before. This has already happened before. When Bush, in his, I think it was his second term, it was either halfway through his first term or the beginning of his second term, they did a large ICE buildup, and they reduced the amount of regulations and requirements for people to join. Obama had to come in and fix that, because what ended up happening was the people that were the Minutemen, that were patrolling the borders on their own, so the crazies of the crazies, the racist of the racist, just joined ICE.
Vigilantes.
That's when you started seeing all of these problems come up within ICE, because before ICE it was NIS, I think it was National Immigration Services.
Yeah,
that was held in the Department of Labor, and there wasn't that much. There was some problems, but it was more contained because their mission was different, right? It was, you go after employers. It was more like, raids on that, not necessarily much interior enforcement, blah, blah, blah. Because they completely changed after 9/11 because they wanted a military style force to help police agencies go after terrorists that were immigrants, basically. That's why it was set up the way it was set up. Good, bad, whatever you want to say about that. The requirements were lessened, so we have to get rid of it. We have to start over. We need a cultural, this is what I call a cultural enema. You fire every single person that is in the agency right now. It doesn't matter how long you've been there. It doesn't matter when you were hired. It doesn't matter how good the job you did. Homan can go fucking kick rocks, all right? You make everybody reapply, and you scrutinize the fuck out of their record. And if they have any violations of civil rights, you know, even if they don't have an official complaint, if they have too many unofficial complaints or just like complaints against them, you don't hire them again. And you clean house. And you change the mission of that organization. I think when a lot of people say abolish ICE, they mean it in two different ways. They don't really mean no immigration enforcement. That's about, like, it's split into thirds, like a little less than 30% mean no immigration enforcement.
Yeah.
The rest of the 60% means, you know, get rid of that agency and just put its requirements, what it's doing now, into other agencies that already exist. Or the other 30% is replace it with a new agency.
Yeah.
And I think replacing it with a new agency makes a little bit of sense. I think there's some, like, to me, I think that this could actually be handled by agencies that already exist that don't require it to be a special agency. You can give, you know, drug enforcement already involved in some of this stuff, anti-gang stuff, right? Yeah, the FBI is already in criminal stuff. Like, so you can give a lot of that to other people. But, you know, is the FBI really equipped right now to investigate employers for hiring people illegally? Not really. Well, so does that need to be its own agency, or can it be an FBI function? I don't know.
Border Patrol got pulled into shit that Border Patrol has no business doing.
Oh,
so
no
that's
reason.
that's another example. Too. Yeah.
Clean house. Cultural enema on both of these organizations. We can't trust anybody that Trump hired. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We can't. That's a problem.
I can jam with that.
That's the second one.
Number 3.
And then number 3, this one's a little harder to reconcile with priorities. To get us back on track to a more civically engaged population, I think we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, specifically for all of the corruption and stuff that has happened since Trump got into office. And if we want to go after corruption that existed in other presidencies, do that too. So we can go back to the 2008 financial crisis. Criminal stuff happened in there. We never had justice for the criminal stuff that happened in those things. Some of this stuff was not criminal, but was clearly immoral. We should go after people that did stuff like that. So if you were scamming people out of money to give mortgages and then pulling the rug out of people and doing stuff like Bernie Madoff, whatever the case may be, doing insider trading, you need to be held accountable for that. I don't care if the statute of limitations expired. Statute of limitations are stupid. Not completely, but for a lot of things, it's dumb, right? Yes, witnesses die, etc. But something like this, a white collar crime, we have all that data, man. There's no reason to not be able to pull that up.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, all of the crypto scams, all of the bribes, all of that stuff. As shitty as it is to go after political opponents, when you're grifting at the level that the Trump administration's been doing since he got into office his first term, you need to hold that shit accountable. And that means bringing in people from Congress too that are doing it too. All the insider traders that violated any of the insider trading that congressmen do, they need to face if not prison time, massive fines. Because if we don't hold the elites accountable, people lower than the elites know that the system is rigged and are less likely to follow the law themselves. We need to hold elites more to a higher standard than we hold lay people to. If you are a person that is in a position of power and you fuck up, bye. Especially if someone dies, bye, go to prison.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're not the one to pull the trigger. You got to go.
No, I
if we're not doing
agree.
That,
yeah,
we're not doing that, then
we are a corrupted system. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, Mr. Cypher, you gave me an hour and a half of your time, sir, and I enjoyed the fuck out of the conversation. I definitely appreciate the hell out of it. If you would be so kind, everybody out there, if you already saw him type something, you do stream on Twitch as well as, or is it just on Twitch?
So What I do is that I've made some long form content on YouTube, and I basically stopped doing that. However, from all of the work that I'm doing with Hands Off Central Texas, I am putting together a documentary of the actions that we've done since No Kings Won to kind of cover the stuff that I talked about here, but as a more blueprint kind of thing. So that's a thing that I'm developing that I'm hoping to have hopefully done before the election. I'm busy. I'm doing other shit. So I'm not going to be able to interview people for this stuff until after Easter to do that. But that is a thing that I am actively working on. I'm trying to put together an actual 40-minute to an hour and 20-minute documentary that will be shared with my people, and then maybe it gets into a film festival. Who knows? Depends on how good it is. All right,
That'd be cool. Yeah.
If nothing else, it would be posted on YouTube, at least on my channel.
And that was going to be my next question. Are people going to be able to find your links to your YouTube through your Twitch? So if they follow you on Twitch, will they see you in the bio?
They should be able to. It's just Cypher Report spelled in the corner. Where is it? Here, spelled in the corner over here. It's that's my name everywhere. On Twitter, it's with an X between the two because they didn't want me to do an underscore. But that's my handle everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And I've done a lot of short form stuff, especially around the Texas elections. So that's what I've been focusing on mostly lately. And I've been participating more on Threads under that same name. So if you want to follow me and get some takes or whatever the case may be, do that. And once I'm done with that documentary, I'm hoping to get back into some long form content, but it won't be at the level, or I should say at the frequency it was when I was doing it more often.
For sure. And I will assume that also means that you probably don't have a whole lot of spare time for debates. So I won't hold that against you, and I won't take it personally.
No. I do want to do more debates. Just for, like I said, this month is...
Yeah.
So there's nothing I can do this month.
Cheers.
The county conventions for the Democratic Party are this weekend. So I'm doing that. Next weekend's No Kings. The weekend after that, I'm going to take a break. And then I'm going to see my friend. So I won't be around for those. But I'll
sounds
be back
good.
around April.
I will keep sending you the invites then, and you just let me know when you're available. So, all right, man.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed the debate, man.
I appreciate you talking to you. You have a great night, sir.
Likewise, man. You too. Bye.
Toot. All right. So, wait. Sorry. I did the wrong thing there. Damn it. Such an amateur. Get myself back over there. Oh, wrong room. Sorry. Good Lord, I'm going to get better. I swear to God I am. All right. So I tell you what, everybody. I need to run to the bathroom. I don't know if Gorps can hear me out there. But I'm going to run to the baño real quick. Yep. Give me 1 second and I will be right back. All right, everybody. All right. It's going to be quiet because I don't even have like my break music set up in here yet, but I will give it on that in just a minute. BRB. All right, Brother Gorps, if you can hear me, sir, go ahead and hop on in here. Put my camera back on. There we go. Or do you need me to drag you in? There you go.
Hello.
All right. Welcome in, good sir. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Dandy just had a wonderful conversation. How much of it were you able to catch?
Most of it. I was in and out a little bit because I was dealing with some other stuff, but I heard most of it.
Right on. So we will get into some comparative stuff here in a few minutes. But first of all, I want everybody to know, most of y'all, I'm sure if you guys have fucking hung out in my channel for any more than about a week, you know who Gorps is. But Gorps Inc. is a sometimes streamer, used to be streamer, kind of still streams, mostly though just does documenting stuff for protests, and has been doing some debates with the DMZ, which is super duper awesome, and we're honored to have him. Gorps, tell me how you got involved with the organizations that you are currently organized in, or you're helping organize. How did you get into them? What are the names of them that you can name? And what have your experiences leading up to that been? Tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, so getting into the two, it's kind of all one, but the two main organizations, or like in this sphere, it's all one, are Defund Musk and Radish, which are two organizing groups in Seattle. They do, they have protests and mutual aid for pretty much everything under the sun that you can think of. I got into them. I didn't even know they existed when I met one of the co-founders of the women's group for Defund Musk, which has since become the Seattle Handmaidens. I was at a protest. I was taking some pictures. This is very early on when I started taking pictures at protests, and she came up to me and was like, "Hey, join us, bitch." So I did that, and then the other organizations that I have joined since then have largely been through word of mouth. A bunch of people are involved in multiple organizations, and they tell me, "Hey, this one exists. This one could use you." And then I go talk to those the people that lead those organizations, and we just get connected as you do. I will also say Defund Musk has the Seattle Handmaidens. They also have a science group. They have an LGBT group. They have we're working on an anti-war group that's in the makes. But it technically is a subsidiary of Seattle Indivisible, strictly on the basis that they are the fiscal sponsor. So, like, in terms of Seattle Indivisible's 501c3 status is used for these organizations so that we can process donations and have, decent accounting. And that's the case for a lot of groups in Seattle, is they use an Indivisible as their fiscal sponsor. I'm also involved with some of the county level Indivisibles, some Ice Watch groups, some rapid response groups, and quite a few anti-war movements that, for my own safety, because my face is being shown, I will not name. But we can talk about some of those actions throughout the course of this.
Okay. Cheers to that. And primarily your activists, your protests and such that you worked with have been just in Seattle, or have you gone to other areas of the state?
It's mostly in Seattle. A couple months ago, I want to say in December, the Seattle Handmaids joined with 4 other handmaid groups throughout the state of Washington, and we all went to Olympia, to the state capitol, and did a march on the Capitol and unveiled a big long handmaid's declaration about women's rights and shit. That, I think, was the only time I've done something out of the Seattle area. I've done Tacoma actions against the ICE facility in Tacoma, but I don't know if you include that in Seattle. It's an hour and a half drive.
So just out of curiosity, I'm sorry, I just want to make sure when roughly was it that you're talking about you were in the Capitol with the big long list and the handmaids?
Give me 2 seconds. I can get you the exact date. Handmaids at the Capitol, December 6th, 2025.
Pretty sure I saw it. Pretty sure I was there that day. I'm pretty sure that was the date. No, I swear to God, I'll show you Auntie's photos. So again, and they were all standing around the fountain, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was there that day, but
we did the declaration on the Capitol steps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We watched it happen. That's what a weird coinky dink.
You were one of those weird passerby that we were looking at that we couldn't figure out if you guys were for or against us. You weren't the only one.
Because I look like I work at a gas station. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we spent most of our time standing on the overpass, actually, with holding signs and cheering and everything else. But we had walked through the grass, and whenever they actually rolled out that big declaration and everything else, we were out there watching. And I'm looking forward. I hope that you brought some visual aids for the class. Very good. Very good. All right. So a couple questions. First of all, defund Musk. I assume that this was happening during the Doge era. Is that?
Yeah. So defund Musk was formed about a year and a month ago. It's about 13 months ago, right at the beginning of the Trump administration when all the Doge stuff was happening. They started out by picketing outside of Tesla dealerships, basically saying a big F you to Musk and calling out all of the bullshit that Doge was doing. They've had some success in that. They actually shut down a Tesla dealership in downtown Seattle, in South Lake Union specifically, if you're familiar. And they were very happy about that success. But especially since the end of Doge, they have morphed into a much bigger thing, and they talk about a lot more than just Musk, but they all still hate Musk.
Well, sure. I mean, it's easy to do. No, so I'm just, it was interesting to me that the defund Musk movement had a women's group. Like that just seems really weird that they would differentiate, and that women's group would then turn into the Handmaids. What do you know about the Handmaids, and like how did that develop? Like what is the history of that? Did somebody just say, "Hey, this show would be a really good," like it's a moving visual, but it is exceptionally performative, and so I'm just curious, like. It's very theatrical, let's say it that way. So I'm curious, like who is attributed with having that idea?
If I remember correctly, it was one of the founders of the women's group. It's two women that started the women's
Don't
group.
need their names.
I won't.
Good.
But it's one of them, and the Handmaids, like as a protest act for women's rights, have been around for years, if not over a decade, maybe. This has been a long-standing thing. I actually recently met someone from Chicago that has been a part of Chicago's Handmaids for like 6 years. So this is not like a new thing per se, but it's becoming way more popularized now. So their first action with the Handmaids was to walk through Pike Place Market with the Handmaids all holding signs. All of their signs for the Seattle Handmaids is all like facts. So they don't necessarily try to push something. They point out facts that a lot of people don't realize. To just the point of it is to simply make people stop and think, and to make people take a second think about whether it be their votes or whether it be the status of women's rights in America and worldwide. Some of them do like worldwide stats. And so it's meant to be theatrical, but it's meant to make you stop and think for just that split second.
And it works. That's that. Like, again, I wasn't shit talking by referring to it as theatrical. Like, that's what you have to do in modern society to get people's attention. Like, if we're being real, I actually just double checked, and I didn't realize Handmaid's Tale came out in 2017. So yeah, that checks out. It's been 9 years since that show. Because for you to say that the movement has been around for almost a decade, I'm like, well, I didn't think the show had been around that long, and I can't imagine that there was a reference to the Handmaids before the show. So yeah, that does actually check out. So tell me more about, because they were one of the most fascinating things. Again, like I said, Auntie took a shit ton of pictures of them because of how powerful it was. I know that they don't speak at all during the protests, that they all walk around in silence, and like you said, they're all carrying
exceptions to that.
Okay, well, they didn't speak that day, and that they were, like you said, carrying around placards with important messages. They let the placards do the talking for them. But beyond that, like, what would it take? What does it take for somebody to become a handmaid and or get involved with an organization like that? Like Indivisible, you can just go to their website, right? And you can find out, hey, this is how you become a part of the No Kings protest or help organize for us, et cetera, et cetera. How would somebody do something like that for the handmaids?
So I can't speak for all of the other handmaids groups because everything is organized differently. Seattle Handmaids is a outcropping of Defund Musk. Defund Musk is usually where people reach out to get involved with the handmaids. They also can reach out directly to the women's group. It's a little bit harder to do that one. You need to know somebody that is in the women's group that will give you access to the group chat links and stuff. But it's incredibly easy. If anybody wants to, we are incredibly welcoming to bring as many handmaids in as we can get. Because the more the merrier for any of these actions we do.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that that it was something that spoke to and motivated all of the ladies that I have spoken with. Every single female who has looked at it and seen it said, I want to participate. I want to support that.
I will say the one overarching, and this goes for pretty much any organizing in the modern day, is you need to know how to use Signal to get involved with pretty much anything.
Signal. That's what our government uses to plan the wars now, right?
Yeah.
And give each other thumbs up and such and fist bumpsies. All right. Okay. So completely self-serving question. When you first, and I want you to be honest, when you first got associated with the group called Radish, did you think of me?
Yeah, actually, my wife and I were laughing about it when I first got in with them.
That's badass. Because whenever you said that, I was like, "Are you fucking with me?" Like, that's not really a thing.
And now it's weird whenever we like are talking and mention either you Radish or that Radish, because we have to clarify which Radish we're talking about.
Radish the person, not Radish the org. Got it. Okay,
we just call you Horseradish rather than Radish.
There you go. There you go. That works. Well, since at some point you're going to be meeting all of us IRL for our ghost hunting adventures, I'm sure that by that time we'll actually be in first name basis and it'll be a little easier. So, connected orgs. So you were saying that there were science orgs, LGBTQ orgs, and possibly potential anti-war orgs. What kind of science orgs? What kind of science protest orgs? Like, what do you mean by that?
It's not really a separate organization. It's a subgroup of Defund Musk, but it's just a bunch of people that are part of Defund Musk that want to have a focus on this topic. So that's how the subgroups work. It's all Defund Musk, but it's, the science group talks a lot about RFK and his takeover of health. They also talk a lot about environmental regulations.
And I suppose the education and et cetera. Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Educational grants, research grants.
Okay.
Things like that.
Yeah, I was like, what are you protesting in science? Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, so real quick, and just like with the last conversation with Cypher, you're going to get the vast majority of my undivided attention, but I did say something kind of out of pocket there, so I'm going to clarify for chat. Yeah, Roddy. First of all, welcome in, Roddy. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, Lethe. I don't know if you got the chance to listen to that last conversation. I hope you did. If not, I'd like to compare notes and see how your conversation went last night. I didn't actually listen to yours because I wanted to come in cold tonight, but I plan to compare afterwards. Yeah. So, Roddy, we are doing basically bi-monthly ghost hunting trips. We're going to be doing it for, we're probably going to be editing content. Moss is going to be creating a sub channel with just the ghost hunting stuff, completely unrelated to any of the politics stuff and the debate stuff. And we're going around to different places for now in the state, but eventually in the country. And we're doing our own little ghost hunts just because I'm never going to believe it unless I actually see it for myself. So that's, and we're going to be...
You're never going to see it for yourself because they're not real.
We saw some pretty fucking crazy shit whenever we went to the castle. So the next one we're going to be doing is going to be the Asylum in Sedro-Woolley, which is not too far from the Seattle area that that Gorps calls stomping grounds. So
I grew up and I would go take the trip up there all the time. It's just hang out.
well, we're gonna hang out, but we're gonna have a whole bunch of really cool gear while we do it. So the only thing we're waiting on is the SLS camera. As soon as we get that, then we're gonna go ahead and schedule it. It's just that's like $500 fucking dollars, and it's really hard to justify. So over some silly ass ghost hunting games. But anyway, so that's what that's all about. Anyway, I'm back to my guest here. So Umbrella. So you said that Indivisible is what gives the other groups the funding, or they use the 501c3PO or whatever?
The official word that the groups use is fiscal sponsor.
What does that mean?
Indivisible does not give them any money. However, the donations that Defund Musk receives get routed through Indivisible and then directly to the Defund Musk bank account, effectively. So they go through Indivisible for accounting reasons, because Indivisible has the 501c3 status and is able to have processing, so they can pay for the ability to process credit cards, for example. And Defund Musk doesn't want to pay for that themselves. So the money goes through Indivisible and then back to us.
And what do those
much
proceeds
easier for us
get
to
used for?
donations.
What do those donations
All
go
of our
towards?
actions. So a lot of them go towards the bigger events, the marches, and the bigger rallies where we need to rent speakers. Sometimes if it's a march, we'll rent like a U-Haul so that we can put the speakers in the back of the U-Haul and have a moving speaker situation. They will go towards materials. So like that's especially part of the situation for the handmaids, because they hand make every single costume. So they need the materials to be able to get together to sew and glue and make the costumes a costume. And more so, and this goes for both Defund Musk and Radish, more and more so, we've been trying to do mutual aid. So
Kind of like Cypher was referring to.
We just held a massive women's march for International Women's Day, and we did so much fundraising for that, and we also sold merch at that. And we ended up, we didn't know if we were going to make it to a profit. And then when we finally tallied everything up at the end, we had a profit of, I'm not going to say how much, but quite a bit of money.
Sure.
And we will be having a meeting this weekend amongst all the members of the women's group. And we will decide where we're going to donate that to. It will likely be a domestic violence shelter. And then we are going to follow that up with all of us, or as many as they want or need of us, going for a weekend and doing volunteer work at that domestic violence shelter. So that's one of the mutual aid things. We've done soup kitchens, we've done clothing drives, we've done when we have undocumented members of the community that can't make their bills because they're too scared to go to work, we will pitch in a little bit to help them. So it's all of these things combined that is what all of the donations end up going to.
Okay. And when you said something about the Ice Watch, right, and then the ability for rapid response, I was going to ask, how much does funding play into your ability to?
We don't take any funding. So the
donations.
the
excuse me. The donations.
We don't have any. It's decentralized.
Okay.
So the rapid response, the patrol networks that are currently being set up, and the
similar to the ones we saw in Minneapolis, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They are separate from any of these organizations. They are decentralized. They are lightly vetted for who's in them, but they're decentralized. It's basically, hey, do you live in this area, or are you in this area all the time? Great. Join the rapid response team.
Okay.
And every once in a while, for all of the different teams, we have basically all of King County covered. Basically, every inch has a rapid response team. And I can only speak for the ones that I'm in, but we decently regularly try to find like events happening in the community or protests happening in the community where we can all meet up, or at least some of us meet up, so we can meet each other and know who is on the team with us there. But there's no org behind that, and there's no donations behind that.
Okay, so that's as grassroots can get then. It's literally just a bunch of people, and so again, like I said, kind of like what Cypher was saying in regards to their response to the floods, how they just were like, well, fuck, we should do something about this, so they did. So what have been some of the rapid response things that you said something about the women's march or Women's Day. What was that? And like, what kind of things so far have you guys had to respond to?
So the rapid response is specifically for ICE and feds. It's not part of the Women's Day thing.
Okay.
But like 2 days ago, somebody was taken into custody by federal officials in like just down the road from the University of Washington. We had rapid response there within 5 minutes. We've been having people getting taken into custody pretty consistently every other day or so that we know of in the South Seattle area. On average, rapid response teams down there are on scene within 5 to 10 minutes. This is further south of Seattle in the Auburn and Kent area. They've had quite a few raids, like full-on raids of apartment complexes and
Referring
stuff.
to ICE.
Yes, ICE raids. ICE, DHS, HSI,
immigration.
They all work together.
Immigration
Yes,
raids.
Immigration. We had people on site at pretty much every one of those raids within 5 to 10 minutes. Up in my area, my rapid response team, we're in a bit of a lull right now, but right when this team was formed, in the first, I think, 4 days that we had a rapid response team where I live, we had 3 ICE arrests that we were at the scene in less than 5 minutes of.
Okay, and
so what we do.
That's what I was about to say. What does a rapid response look like? Well, like, what are you doing? What are you showing up there to accomplish?
So the ideal is that there's more than one of us there. If that is what happens, we have one person who films everything that's happening, tries to get the person to say their name so that we can later find where they're being
track
held,
them. Yep.
We can find their family members.
Make sure everything is being handled legitimately.
We try to get them to say their name. They don't always, but it is what it is. We have somebody trying to get on whistles to try to get more people to watch, because when we have more people watching, they're less likely to do brutal shit. So we're trying to get as many eyes on the situation as possible. Some rapid response teams, not mine, but some other ones, have people that will try to engage in de-arrests. That is up to the individual person's choice and not the rapid response group's mentality as to how we respond to these. But some will. But the ultimate point of it is to figure out who they're taking, figure out who the people that are taking the person are, identify the family members. Usually there's a car left behind, so figure out where that car can be taken so it doesn't go to an impound lot, because many of these families only have one vehicle. Like I know recently, a couple weeks ago, a bunch of people pulled together cash that were all in a rapid response team, and they took that cash, took it to an impound lot, and got somebody's car out that had been impounded after they were abducted by ICE, and brought it back to that person's family so that they had their car. They could get to their work and their school and all that. So that's the main goal, is just make sure that no brutality happens and figure out what's next for the family.
Documentation and accountability. Okay, so to that, I know that the state of Washington has been working on passing, or recently passed, I'm not sure which, you can correct me, regarding police or law enforcement wearing masks. Has ICE been masked in your interactions and or experiences, or has that actually gone into effect?
They aren't always masked in Washington in the first place.
Okay.
In my experience, they're like 50-50, masked or not. And that just passed like a couple days ago. I haven't seen anything of them since. The only response that I've seen that we've had to have to the feds in the last couple days has been that University District incident. That ended up not actually being ICE. We found out the next day. We did a bunch of investigation. It
Who
was not
was
ICE,
it?
it was HSI.
Okay.
It was an actual criminal thing. Supposedly. We're still trying to make sure that's true because
So just on that note, I was going to say, and I understand that protesters going to protest, activists going to activate, and I agree in general with a lot of it. And I know you said that you and your groups do not advocate for, what was it, you referred to it as de-arresting?
de-arrested.
Yeah, I like that term.
No group advocates for
Sure.
that,
Sure. No, good. Well, and what I was going to say was, like, politics aside, beliefs aside, it seems like an ill-advised idea for multiple reasons, not the least of which is the fact that you don't know that this person isn't being arrested for very legitimate reasons. You know what I mean? Like, I would just be really weirded out by the idea that somebody's going to be like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and liberate this person from law enforcement, not knowing that this person was a fucking convicted murderer or violent criminal or, you know what I mean, sexual assault. Like, again, the number of things that a person could be arrested for in conjunction with their immigration status is pretty fucking long. So, but again, like I said, I know you weren't advocating for that. It's just, it's interesting that you then told me immediately about well, we thought it was ICE, but it turned out it was an actual fucking criminal. So, right on.
Yeah, the de-arresting comes out of Black Bloc protesters.
Which, so there were a couple of the questions that I asked Cypher earlier that I'm going to kind of parrot back at you. How much have you seen of the Black Bloc protesters, the more violent protesters types, and what sort of First of all, let me roll it back. What sort of responses have you gotten and have you seen for the protests, the nonviolent, peaceful protests that you have been engaged in and documenting, both from law enforcement and from pedestrians and observers?
I mean, we're in Seattle. Most people agree with us when we're out protesting. There are certainly, if we're taking to the streets, there are certainly people that are annoyed and yell at us because they want to drive somewhere. We very rarely get full-blown opposition. There might be, 1 to 5 hecklers that walk by and say some MAGA shit. But it's not super common in terms of pedestrians and just Seattleites. The cops are a mixed bag. It really depends on if they're on their period or not. For example, yesterday we were down in Tukwila, which is South Seattle, protesting a aerospace defense supplier conference, and we were at an entrance to a parking lot protesting all of the attendees going in and yelling at them, calling them assholes. But there was, I think, 5 cops that were just sitting there making sure that we weren't dicks. And we had one coordinator that talked to the cops beforehand, before this all started, to coordinate how we could protest without them fucking beating us up. And it was agreed upon by all parties that we were at the entrance. This entrance to the parking lot had a crosswalk across it, and it was off of a major road. We had agreed upon with the cops that when the crosswalk said walk, we could walk. We could walk back and forth and block it for the entire time that the crosswalk said walk. And when it ended, we had to be out of the crosswalk, which I thought was a pretty fair deal.
Yeah.
Well, by the time the 3rd crosswalk went off, they fucking ran into us in the middle of it saying we could walk and said, "Get the fuck out of the road." And one of them really was trying to find a fight the entire night. So we get those interactions, and we also get the interactions of cops just watching us. So it's very hit or miss depending on how they feel that day.
Yeah. And which particular cop it is that you're dealing with, I'm sure. So, I'm sorry, we got to roll it back. Aerospace Supplier Conference. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And you were protesting that. Why? Explain, pull that apart for me, my friend.
Seattle has been this is an annual conference. Seattle has been protesting it for at least 3 years that I know about, but it may have been going longer. They do a supplier summit conference thing downtown Seattle in the middle of the day, and then they go down to the Museum of Flight, which is basically just a Boeing museum, down in South Seattle afterwards for a cocktail party. The cocktail party was this thing that I was at. I was at work during the day, so I didn't go to the downtown Seattle one. But it is a supplier summit for aerospace weapons. Many of those weapons are currently being used to bomb Gaza, bomb Lebanon, bomb Iran. And so since the start of the war in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza, we have been protesting this conference.
That checks out. Okay, because there's a difference between an aerospace supplier and an aerospace weapons supplier. And you left that
They
particular
call
important
themselves
word.
aerospace defense supplier.
It's the same thing, but still, whether your weapons are for offense or defense, they're still weapons. So again, like when you say aerospace supplier, I'm like they just want to go explore Mars, bro. Like, why are you mad at them? But that
Well, that
actually makes
sounds like
sense.
Musk, so we got to bring defund Musk back into this.
So we actually we can circle back to that. So okay, so you said something there that goes back to another thing that I was talking to Cypher about in regards to interference protests, right? That there is a peaceful protest, but there's also a you can be a nuisance, right? So I take it that you are, yeah, okay, disruptive. I guess that's probably a better framing for you. I take it that means that you generally support disruptive protests. Whenever I saw you in the chat gigging out whenever I said something about getting rushed on the I-5. So I guess that might have been you that almost got ran over that day. Like that's the
No, I was not there. I wish I was there.
Okay. But you definitely support that sort of. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think, and again, there's going to be, you were listening to a lot of the questions from Cypher, so I'm going to stop prefacing with, I've already asked him this, because there were several questions. There's a lot of overlap here, and I want to get the different perspectives. Do you believe that that is productive?
Yes.
How so?
So there's two different types of ways that a protest can be can be productive. No kings can be productive because it brings people into the movement. The disruptive protests, specifically the one that disrupt transportation throughout a city, are the protests that I believe can actually do more. Because sure, trying to get people to vote a certain way or whatever is one thing. Stopping commerce is another. That is largely the point of these protests that shut down cities or attempt to shut down parts of cities. You are shutting down commerce. You are shutting down normal life in a way that if this is sustained, the politicians are forced to reconcile in some way because they can't be known as the politician that just let this continue.
But does it not seem like it's going to build resentment in the populace against the movement? Like, I understand the normies. I get that when you're standing on the sidewalk, you have some people that honk as they drive by. You have some people who flip you off as they drive by. But I'm guessing that 70 to 80% just drive by. Right? They're kind of ambivalent to your existence. But if you are standing out in the street or preventing them from making it to work on time, you are, it seems to me, going to incite their wrath. You're going to make people who would have been otherwise ambivalent towards you now aggressively opposed to you. And does that not seem like that's going to work against your cause?
So these protests that are shutting down a city largely are not to get people to support you. That's not the point. So, and even then, a lot of people still do. A lot of times when they just like take to the streets, people that are just passerby will come out of businesses, come out of bars, and just join us because they do support the cause. But it's not to get those support. It's not to get the support from these people. That's what things like No Kings are. That's what things like rallies in Cal Anderson Park, which is like the big park everybody rallies in Seattle. those rallies, the No Kings, is what bringing people into the movement is the goal of. The goal of the protests that shut things down, the goal of the protests that disrupt a defense supplier summit is not to make people like us. It is to make the target forced to see us and forced to listen to us. So, at the Defense Supplier Summit, the downtown Seattle one that I did not go to, they brought massive, massive speakers, bigger than we use for our rallies for the speakers that are actually giving speeches. Bigger than those. Massive speakers, and they blasted air raid sirens into the door of this Defense Supplier Summit. The point is not that the passerby likes the air raid sirens. The point is that the people inside those doors have to be forced to listen to what their victims have to listen to. So, yes, it does turn some people away. But I don't care, because that doesn't matter for what the actual point is.
The reason that I ask, or that I brought this up, is because of the I-5 thing that I was talking about. And even myself, who was generally supportive of the purpose behind their protests, found myself being resentful towards the movement based solely on the actions of the protesters, right? Not even because it was an inconvenience to me, but just because of, like, again, dude, I almost ran you the fuck over. I'm driving 65 on a goddamn freeway and you run out in front of my van. Motherfucker, you're going to be paced. Like, and I don't want that on me, Ricky Bobby.
I will say, from the organizer perspective of this, that was a very dumb way that they did that.
Yes, but you're familiar with what I'm talking about.
What should have been done is they should have had lead cars that slowed down the traffic behind where they were going to get onto the freeway, and should have slowed down cars and forced cars off the freeway to make sure that protesters were safe, and then actually made a line of cars across the freeway so that nobody could plow. That's what they should have done. That's why we have bike brigades and car brigades on marches through the streets in cities, is to protect protesters from exactly that.
And that was actually going to be one of my next questions. Funny enough, great job. What sort of safety measures do you guys have in place? We know that the Indivisible people, despite vigilantes' protests of their protests, do not allow protesters to come in armed. And I'm not looking for all of your secrets and such, but I'm curious, like, what sort of processes? Do you hear the dog in the background?
Vaguely, but
okay,
it's quiet.
All right, cool. As long as it's not disruptive, then we won't protest it. What sort of protections and or safety nets do you guys use to make sure that these protesters are safe for themselves and others? Like
for the big marches, and I guess also for
when you're standing in a crosswalk, like
they're at every protest except for a couple that I have done. There is a de-escalation team.
Okay.
We have trainings. We have de-escalation trainings that people can go to from people that have been either they have like psychological de-escalation, like education. We have some former cops. That one's a bit of an iffy one. It's back and forth as to whether you should go to the former cops for de-esc, but we have designated de-escalation people that are on site at protests. Usually they're the ones that are in like high-vis vests, but depending on the protest and the situation, sometimes they won't be wearing one. And those people are scattered throughout. So No Kings, downtown Seattle, the first one. 70,000 people came to the streets in Seattle. And I did not organize this. I was just there. But there was de-esc teams of 2. They were set up in pairs on either side of the crowd, walking like in line with each other, but on opposite sides of the crowd, so they could have a view over everything, and about every block was one of these pairs. So they could see everything, They had walkie-talkies. They could radio if anything was going down, and they did radio if anything went down. And these people, if there's any sort of whether it's just somebody heckling, whether it's more of a aggressive encounter, they will run to that scene and try to separate whatever is happening in whatever way they can. In terms of like physical safety from cars and stuff, we have bike brigades at most protests, which will block intersections with their bikes to make sure, or to, I guess, to try to get cars not to plow through us. Some protests, we will have car brigades instead of bike brigades, which will actually make sure that a car does not run us over because they block the crossroads with their car. And then also almost every protest has field medics on scene, of which I am also trained to be. So there's overall all of that. And then we keep us safe. If somebody notices that somebody is in trouble, the rest of the protesters will jump in.
So let's turn that around a little bit. If somebody else, safety squad, yeah, there you go. So if you see somebody that is one of your protesters is getting attacked or is getting messed with, then you will intervene. What if you see that one of your protesters is the one who is the aggressor? How do you guys respond to that? Will you ask somebody, hey, you need to go home? You need to go or do you just let them cook? Or like, how do you guys respond to aggressive protesters?
This very much depends on who organized the event.
Okay.
If it is the indivisible type groups, the Defund Musk type groups, usually a DS will try to get both sides to separate, including the protesters. I personally have my own philosophy, which is different from these, in the same way that my philosophy is to never permit a protest. But the anti-war groups and the pro-Palestinian groups largely will not intervene in that situation. There's a general motto's the wrong word, but there's a general motto
mentality
that we don't police each other's protesting. We don't get to we don't dictate how somebody else's anger gets expressed, and we don't talk to cops.
We don't.
So if somebody
talk
wants
to
to go
cops.
spray paint something, they can go spray paint something. Cop comes over to ask who that was. We're not fucking talking.
Oh, okay. So like snitches get stitches, kind of don't talk to cops. Not
Yeah,
like
don't talk to cops.
Okay.
FBI calls you up after the fact. Don't talk to them. Like, it's people are gonna do what they're gonna do. If they see the consequences of their own actions, that's on them. The group did not endorse it, but the group is not going to help them get charged.
prosecute. Yeah,
whatever.
investigate. Gotcha. Okay. So, and you said that that's going to go based on the different groups that you are working with at that time. Gorps, personal question: which of the groups do you prefer to work with?
The anti-war groups.
And those are the ones that generally tend to their own and let you cook how you want to cook.
Yep. I believe in their philosophy. They also are the ones that do unpermitted protests. Pretty much every indivisible thing that actually disrupts anything has a permit.
So tell me
And I
why.
agree with
Let's. Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah, I want you to pull that out. I want you to explain that. Why do you disagree with that? What is your personal philosophy there?
I think the point of a protest is not to march and sing happy songs and la-di-da-di-da and then go home and sit on your couch and think, oh my God, I did such a good thing. The point of a protest is to disrupt in some way, whether that be something small like yelling at a defense supplier, or something bigger like shutting down a street. None of this is like actually effective in doing that goal of disrupting if the city tells you ahead of time and
If you
the
ask
cops
permission.
escort you to do whatever. Because a lot of times, and this may be different for other cities, but a lot of times there will be, for example, for permitted marches, there will be a march that we suggest, and if the city doesn't like it, they'll say, no, but you could go here instead. And that's fucking bullshit. No. We go where we want, and that's it. We're not disrupting anything if we're doing exactly what the city wanted.
But by doing that, do you not open yourself up to more violence, litigation, and consequence?
At least in Seattle, nobody's getting charged for taking to the streets unpermitted when you have a big enough group to safely do it.
What would a big enough group be?
That's not.
How many? What would you consider to
led
be?
One.
Yeah.
I led one that I think was the smallest I would safely do this with, which I believe was about 40 or 50 people.
Okay. 40 or 50, you would say, makes you a more or less untouchable group?
40 or 50 with no bike brigade on that one. If there was bike brigade, I would say 30 could do it.
Remind me, bike brigade is the
people that block the intersections
on
while we're walking past.
Bicycles?
On bikes.
Okay.
Yes, bicycles.
All right. I didn't know if you had like the Hells Angels out there cheering for you. Okay.
We do. We have the slur, the D slur for lesbians on bikes. And they come and they do motorcycle brigade for us sometimes. They're very, very cool ladies.
Okay. That is actually kind of cool. Okay. So far you said that you said that you were not actually directly associated with the No Kings protests, but I have personally seen you or not personally seen you, but I saw the Handmaids and apparently now found out that you were there at the No Kings protests in Olympia. What have been your opinions of the No Kings protests, given the fact that you believe in a more aggressive or invasive form of protest? Do you believe that they are just as effective as the types of protests that you advocate for?
I think they're effective in a different way.
Okay.
So they are very good at bringing people into a movement. If you can effectively, this is kind of what
what Cypher was
saying. Talking about. If you can effectively table, or even just pass out flyers to protesters, if you can effectively do that and get whatever your group is advertised to these thousands, tens of thousands of people, it is effective in getting people into the movement. But it itself, like as a form of protest, does nothing.
So that was basically what Cypher was saying too.
We saw that in Seattle. After both No Kings protests, all of the groups, no matter what they were, all of the groups that were present at the No Kings saw a massive spike in membership after each No Kings. So it's good for that. I don't know how many of those people actually ended up following through and really organizing with these groups, but they did get a boost in membership.
Recruitment. Okay. And when you show up to a protest, what do you think is the most harrowing part of setting it up? Like when you first show up, oftentimes because you don't have a permit, you don't have a plan, or you have a loose plan, right? But what would you say is the most daunting or intimidating aspect of getting one of these protests started?
I think that entirely depends on how it's organized, right? So like that smaller one that I told you about, that
the 40 people one.
Yeah, that was not any organization. That was
you on Signal
coming out. No, not even on Signal. This was on social media.
Oh,
that was a couple of us coming out and saying, "Fuck the orgs. They're not doing anything." This was following the. I think this was just following the killing of Alex Preddy.
Okay.
A lot of us felt that the orgs were not acting fast enough, including the orgs that we were in. So we said, "Fuck this shit. Meet here at this time." It was Cal Anderson Park. Meet at Cal Anderson Park at this time tonight. Show up. And we did. And we showed up. The problem with that, and the difficult part about that, is there was no leadership. There was no speakers lined up. There was nothing. It was a bunch of people that were fucking pissed off that showed up at a park at like 7 p.m. at night. And we had to find a way to get these people organized and get something started. We were waiting to see how many people we got before we knew if we could even rally or we could march. So it was getting everything organized, getting everything from the, okay, like everybody's here just chilling and talking to people, to the actually taking to the streets and marching. We ended up marching like 8 miles through the city that night. So that was our part, is just actually pulling that together, pulling all the anger that everybody had together to be focused on what we were going to do. I think for the more organized ones that are organized by an organization, they're generally pretty easy. The hard part is getting all the shit there, right? Getting, whether it's going to be a U-Haul that's carrying speakers in the back, making sure that's coordinated, making sure there's enough megaphones, making sure somebody has brought extra signs for anybody who doesn't have one but wants to carry one. It's like simple shit like that when you show up, that's just the coordination needs to be done, and you need to hope nobody drops the ball on it.
So when you say you marched 8 miles, did everybody make it the whole 8 miles, or did you find that people? Yes. Okay, so I feel like
we grew as we marched.
Really, you picked up momentum.
Continuously joined. We had people coming out of bars to join us, and we just kept going throughout the whole like central area of Seattle,
like downtown Seattle, near Pike's Place and all that.
We went downtown, we went to the waterfront, we went down to the Stadium District, we went back up through, it's called the Central District? I think it's called the Central District. And we ended up doing a full loop and coming back to Cal Anderson and Cap Hill.
So one of the reasons why it's especially interesting to me to get to talk to the two individuals tonight that I did is because of my ties to both of those regions. I'm familiar with Austin and I'm familiar with Seattle, so like it's particularly interesting to me to hear and compare those two cities. When you have been in Seattle, and we're gonna get some. You have some visual aids for the class, I do believe, and we're almost to the show and tell portion. What, and this is just kind of an anecdotal question. What would you say is the craziest shit you have seen unfold at a Seattle protest?
I'm going to leave out BLM because we all know Chaz happened.
Were you involved in the BLM protests at all?
I went.
Allegedly?
So during the BLM protest, I did not have my current set of beliefs. I was more.
You were more conservative at that time, yeah.
Yeah.
Funny how Twitch does that. It does it to me too.
I went to see, basically, me and my best friend at the time, we went to see a couple times what was happening. My brother was involved in the protesting. He got tear gassed a bunch of times, and now he's a fucking Republican. But that's a separate story.
That's a different podcast.
I went to see what was happening, and I walked through Chaz, and I was at some of the protests where I was there at the moment things got spicy, and I saw kind of how that played out and why things got crazy. So I experienced it, but I wasn't part of it.
Okay. So I ask again then.
Answer your actual question.
The craziest part, thing? Yeah.
I think it was about a year ago, maybe a little bit less. There was a rally again, and we're going to keep coming back to this, Cal Anderson Park. It's the protest spot. There's a rally at Cal Anderson Park for Palestine. And it was like an ICE-Palestine combo thing. So it had a lot of people that were really mad about it because this is, the first half of the Trump admin. And the rally was at Cal Anderson, and it ended. And the organizers pissed everybody off because everybody wanted to march down to the federal building, downtown Seattle, and say fuck you to them to their faces. But the organizers said, no, go home. So, in true Seattle fashion, a bunch of us marched down to the federal building, and and of course, Black Bloc was there for the rally, and Black Bloc was there for the Federal Building events. At this event at the Federal Building, there was probably about 1,000 people in half of a city block. It's packed.
Yeah.
And people, yeah, I can say this. So some people broke windows at the Federal Building. Somebody found a dumpster in an alley and brought it to the middle of the intersection in front of the Federal Building, lit it on fire, and then someone else, I think it was someone else, started throwing a bunch of fireworks into the burning dumpster. Which, don't do that, kids at home. Don't do that.
No, do not.
And then it turned into a throw whatever you can onto the fire and see what happens. And then we all got pepper sprayed. So.
Yeah, that's how that's going to end every time. Now, do you think, because you've already established, and of course you personally did not engage in anything illegal during that protest, right?
I did not actually live streamed this protest.
So do you think that that form or level of protest was productive?
In what people wanted to get out of it, yes.
Because they were just looking to rage. They were not actually looking to move the needle.
They were looking to rage. They were looking to target that at the Federal Building in downtown Seattle. Because at this time in Seattle, this has since kind of changed, but at this time in Seattle, the Federal Building, there is immigration court inside the Federal Building. And historically, what has happened is family members and observers, friends, are allowed into that immigration court to just sit and watch hearings. A couple days before this happened, they cut that off. And they said nobody except the defendants and their attorneys are allowed in. Not even
Probably
family.
because they had had a problem with protesters.
They did, but they did not need to cut off family. And that's part of the reason that everybody was very, very pissed off.
I can understand how difficult it would be to prove like your connections to, like, sure, if you have the same address maybe,
No,
but like
kids were going into this court and their parents weren't allowed to go in with them.
fuck off.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why it is very fucking retarded.
Yeah, no, that's a different, that's a whole
But
of
yeah,
a different
so
color.
there was a whole lot of anger within all of Seattle and the surrounding area, and people needed to blow that off somehow, or else something worse could have happened.
Yeah.
So I think this was actually a good thing that happened. Sucks that we got pepper sprayed.
Was that your first time getting pepper sprayed?
Trouble with the feds. No.
How many times have you gotten pepper sprayed, Gorps?
Oh. Probably 10 or 15.
There you go. I think that should be like you should get like tattoos, like hash marks on your
You should
forearm.
get tallies of
Yeah,
every
time. Yeah. Have you ever been arrested?
No.
Good. I know that that some shit don't wash off. Yeah, it is. That's a big one. That would be a different kind of tattoo. Okay, so we are about an hour in now. So I would really like to see whatever visual aids you have for us. Any pictures, because I know that that's really what you're doing out there. And you've shown me a couple of pictures and some of them were pretty fucking powerful. So just share your screen if you don't mind and show us what you got.
Let me get this set up so that I don't flashbang you. I put together 29 pictures that we could just roll through, and I'll explain to you what the event was that these were all from.
Perfect. Bear with us, everybody.
They're kind of out of
getting
order
the text
because
set
they're
up.
just ordered by the name of the document. So my apologies.
Doesn't matter. No apologies necessary.
Can you see that?
Oh, I can see nothing. I see gray.
Yeah, can you see it?
Why? You know, I still cannot see it. No, sir.
What the fuck? Ah, that was my camera.
Yeah, I saw it. Okay.
Hold on. Because it shows me. I wonder, can I share my entire screen?
You can share your entire screen. That's usually an easy way. Just be careful not to accidentally dox yourself.
Yeah.
Still just looking at a gray screen, my friend.
What the?
God, you're such a boomer.
What the fuck? I don't know why it's not working. It. Stream. I don't. Do you have troubleshooting options here? Because I don't. I've never had this not work. I'm gonna. This is working, right?
Hey, there you go. I see that.
Okay, but that's the problem. Is it's just my file explorer. So if I open up. I'm sorry. I'm cutting you in and out. I don't know. How
I don't mind. I don't care.
And this is not working, right? Oh wait, is it working now?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. This is one of the things that the handmaids regularly do. Is the first Thursday of every month, there is an art walk in Seattle in Pioneer Square, which is right by the stadiums in Seattle, and the handmaids like to make little showings at the art walk, and they'll just walk around. They will stand in front of galleries, and usually when they do, they draw a pretty big crowd around them of people taking pictures and videos and stuff. It's a pretty cool experience. I don't think we've ever had a negative like heckler or anything at these, so it's just kind of like a fun thing, if anything.
For what it's worth, chat, for those of you who have not seen this, again, Auntie and I were able to see this at the No Kings protest in Olympia. But if you have not seen it, it's exactly what it sounds like. The handmaids are dressed like from Handmaid's Tale, and they walk around silently most of the time, carrying placards with important information or facts. And this is kind of their form of protest. If you see it in person, it's pretty powerful. So anyway, and Gorps is associated with them. Sorry, continue. I just want to give people context of what they were looking at.
There was also one of the art galleries that is part of the Pioneer Square Art Walk invited us for a political gallery they did in January, I think. And so they were actually like an installation. They're people, but like they were an installation in this art gallery, which was a very cool experience.
Yeah.
This is Devin. I'm allowed to say his name, don't worry. He is the dude who founded Defund Musk. He has also run for Congress. He did not win. He got like 15,000 votes. But he ran for Congress. This is at a protest we did outside of Como, which is a local news station which is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting. This was when Jimmy Kimmel was taken offline. The Defund Musk folks decided to, we did about 2 weeks, I think, of protests outside of Como to say, fuck you to Sinclair. This is the handmaids at Olympia. There was, I believe our count was like 85 of them. And this is also at Olympia.
Yep, I was about to say that's exactly what we saw.
Yep, back here, that big piece of paper is their handmade declaration, where they talked about a bunch of women's rights and said, fucking do it, politicians. Chop, chop.
Is there any place where people can see the actual content of that?
I have a picture of it.
But there isn't like a manifesto or anything like that. You ought to reach out to them.
It's posted anywhere publicly.
You ought to reach out to them and see if they can get that out there, just so that people have, like I said, like a manifesto that they can kind of get behind.
That's true. It could be public somewhere that I don't know of.
If you find out, let me know, please. I would like to promote that.
Also, this woman speaking is one of the founders of the Defund Musk Women's Group and the Seattle Handmaids.
Gotcha. And for everybody, that was on the steps of the state capitol of Washington. So,
yes. This is a protest we did recently. Hold on. This was an anti-war on Iran protest we did recently.
Okay.
All of the pro-Palestinian groups were there, which is why you're seeing the Palestine flag and stuff. But this was a march that we did that was not permitted. Fuck you, Seattle police. And we marched probably about a mile and a half through the city on this one.
Out of curiosity, at the anti-war protests, how many people did you see that were ex-military?
We have an entire organization that is Veterans Against War. They usually bring about 20 to 25 people.
That was
Sometimes
another
less,
thing that
sometimes more.
stood out to us when we were at the Olympia protests at the Olympia No Kings, was how many people were like military and clearly like advertising how military they were and were there in protests. So
Yeah, ours generally don't like wear it on their sleeve.
oh, these motherfuckers
But
were wearing
they're
like
part
carrying
of-
Marine Corps flags and shit. Like so
Oh yeah, no, we don't have those. We have people that announce that they're veterans and then move on and act like a normal protester.
gotcha.
This is
Hey,
that
I
Center
recognize
Park,
that. Yep,
but
that's
we were at Pike Place.
That's Pike Place Market. For everybody who does not know Seattle, it's a really cool place. If you're ever there, it's definitely a tourist trap, but it's like a really cool like flea market, open air market. Well, it's not all open air, but whatever. Anyway, it's a really cool little marketplace.
I doubt we have any here, but if you're a local, it's not just a tourist trap, but you have to wake up before the tourists for it to not be a tourist trap. Get there early and it's fun.
For what it's worth, Proshki, right there across the street from that sign.
Nope, we're boycotting them.
What? Why?
MAGA, their owners.
Fuck! Don't tell me that. They're such
I
good
know,
food.
they're good. I know.
God damn, dude, I could eat that
Boycott.
shit every day. Whatever. Anyway, all right, go on.
I'm sorry. This is a very small direct action that we're working on building right now, which I'm glad I put this picture in because I did want to talk about this. Seattle is dealing with ICE trying to expand their facilities in the greater Seattle area. Most of the cities around Seattle and Seattle have put injunctions saying ICE cannot make another detention center. However, they found a loophole in Tukwila, just down the road from their current field office. They found a building that they leased. The lease just went through like last week, which fuck. But they leased it for administrative purposes for DHS. And the actual owner of that building is the same owner as the main ICE field office down in Tukwila as well. It is owned by a corporation called the Saby Corporation. The owner of the Saby Corporation is the mayor of a tiny, tiny little town within Bellevue, Washington. This town has like maybe 500 people and a tax bracket that you cannot even begin to fathom.
What is it called? Do you know the name of the town?
Hunts Point.
Okay.
And so we have started a pressure campaign on the Hunts Point mayor. This was, I believe, like 2 weeks ago. We had a small group of us right outside the entrance to Hunts Point, right at rush hour. And we were there for about 2 hours. So everybody coming home from their 9 to 5s was seeing us. And many of the residents, by the way, were honking for us. But the mayor of Hunts Point found out that we knew about him and canceled City Hall last month because he found out that we were going to come give him a piece of our mind. And then this month, he canceled City Hall again. As of right now, City Hall is on for next month. We are
I'm cheering for you, buddy.
A complete pressure campaign onto this mayor. It seems like we have most of the residents on our side, in fact, surprisingly, given how rich they are. And we are going to pressure the mayor and the owner of these ICE buildings to, at the very least, put restrictions on their leases to ensure no detainment can happen within his buildings, and to ensure that no direct raids are directed coming out of these buildings.
Do
So
you
they
think that a
can't have their
landlord would be
tactical
able to do that against a federal organization?
Yes,
Really? That surprises
they're a
me.
landlord. They set the terms.
It
They
does-
didn't. They were never forced to lease this building.
I
in the
feel
first
like there's some sort of like eminent domain shit. Like I
No,
like
they're not trying to eminent domain any
Okay.
of this. They've just been searching for buildings they can use, and they found the Sabi Corporation. And they found that the Sabi Corporation donated $50,000 to Trump's campaign.
Gotcha, and that's
So-
so that hence the Sabi Corporation. That's what you do. Cruel people doing cruel stuff. It's simple. It's succinct. It's I like it. All right.
Yep, so this is our current pressure campaign. We will be back out there unknown days because I'm not going to publicize that. But this is also from that fun
Yep.
pictures. Also from that fun
That's a
pictures.
kind of a wicked picture. Hey,
This one.
yeah.
This
Uh,
is one of the handmaids speaking. They do
yeah.
speak sometimes.
And took her
Sure,
mask off and the
poem.
whole 9 yards.
This was at the Women's March that I was telling you about. They started off the rally before the march with all of the handmaids walking out in front of the stage, and then this one went up on stage, and she had written a poem specifically for this event. So she read out her poem, and then went down with the rest of the handmaids to stand in front of the stage whilst the actual speeches started. Very cool, very cool. And this was the same event. Some of the speeches. This is Alexis Mercedes Rink. She is a Seattle City Council member. She is the youngest Seattle City Council member ever. I disagree with many of her policies, but she's cool for her support of the organizations.
It's weird
within
that
our
she's
city
named
that are
after two different cars, a Lexus and a Mercedes, but okay, cool. Like it'd be cooler if her name was like Lexus Mercedes Ford, you know, but whatever. Can't get everything you want. And who's this?
This is Erica Evans. She is the Seattle City Attorney.
Okay.
She was just elected in this past election, and she also has been very vocal at protests, specifically for Defund Musk and their subgroups. She comes to speak for them a lot. She spoke at the science rally that we did at the waterfront. She spoke at an anti-ICE event a couple months back, and she spoke at this last weekend or the weekend before at this women's rights rally. She's very cool lady. She's doing cool things with the city attorney's office.
Okay.
This was the women's march. We had all of our handmaids marching at the very front, even in front of the lead car. So the lead car was being led by the handmaids, which was pretty cool. Doesn't happen very often. And you can see how that's set up. ERA now is Equal Rights Amendment now. We don't have to talk about my personal opinions there.
ERA, what's the A? Equal Rights for America?
Equal Rights Amendment.
Amendment. Okay, gotcha.
To enshrine some more of women's rights in the Constitution.
I see. Well, I'm sure you're going to tie that into your civil rights debate. So go on.
This is an unedited picture from the event because I haven't even gotten to editing this. This happened this past weekend. This was one that pretty much I am the sole organizer on. I didn't think of the idea, but I made it an actual thing. There is an anti-trans kids in girls sports, anti-trans girls in girls sports group that wanted to hold a little rally Q&A sesh thing. They got kicked out of their first event center they tried to hold it in, and they had to go all the way up to Linwood, Washington, which is north of Seattle for anybody
Yeah.
not from here,
Linwood's a
to
hot
find
minute.
an
Yeah.
event center that would hold their event. And we decided to show up and tell them all that they were assholes. So about a dozen or so of us showed up at this anti-trans kids being able to do fucking anything rally, and they were inside a building. So we brought megaphones and turned them up to full volume and blasted straight into the windows of this building. We had some fun chants. We had stupid, slimy, MAGA. Fuck, what was it? Hold on. stupid, slimy MAGA sycophants get out of children's pants. Because this is in regards to a bill that is currently in the legislature in Washington State that would require that doctors inspect the genitals of anyone they do a sports physical for to make sure that they are what they say they are. So hence the get out of children's pants. So this was fun, very cold, very loud. We managed to piss off a lot of the attendees, so I found that one to be a success. Pretty much everybody driving by honked at us. It was probably like 50 to 60% of cars going by were honking for us, which was impressive if you've ever been to a protest.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, yeah.
This was at a No War on Venezuela event that was organized very last minute. The strikes struck Venezuela at like 10 p.m. or some shit, wasn't it? And the next day, we were out. There was 200 to 300 people that rallied at Pike Place Market the next day at 2 p.m. for this. Pretty cool. Pretty cool to see how fast we got everybody out. Same event.
Also Pike's Place. Yeah.
Yes. Same. I believe this one was the same event as well. But they went and rallied at the waterfront. This was that small one that I was telling you about, where it's the smallest I would do a march.
Yeah.
This was the very beginning of it. Marching in front of Paramount Theater. And they had lines of, I think, like 500 attendees waiting to get in. So it was a pretty cool.
Yeah, people are taking pictures, and I see a couple fists raised, and yeah.
Yeah, this guy
Yeah.
liked us. Same event. And this was almost all like alternative young adults and youths, which is also really cool.
To see the youths actually out doing, yeah, engaged
The
and
average age
participating.
was like probably 17 or 18 at this, and almost all of them were punks. It was very cool.
Yeah. Speaking of punks, looks like
Same
Ancom was there.
This building that the spray paint is on is the federal building in downtown Seattle,
Gotcha.
and it has been the target of a lot of spray paint.
We do
for the
not
last year.
we do not condone defacing public property. Go on. I know I
The
shouldn't
people
say
own
we.
it.
Yeah, fair. It's my building, goddammit.
This is the Defund Musk Hugh Village weekly protest. So every week, every Saturday at 10 a.m., Defund Musk comes out to University Village, which is the site of one of the Tesla dealerships. They used to also go to South Lake Union once a week, but they closed that Tesla dealership. So now it's just U Village. They come out once a week and just basically just a sign holding and chanting little like event that's good for the old people and kids.
Sure.
A lot of like young kids come.
Still engagement.
Yep. We use this at the end of these little rally things. We'll make announcements for upcoming protests. So we try to get more of these people to go to those protests. And some go, some don't. Whatever they're comfortable with. Sometimes we're fun. Sometimes we bring the band.
Yeah.
This time we brought the band, and these two are a local like singer duo. And so they sang some songs into the megaphone and marched with us a little bit. Very fun. The Handmaids also will we like to just crash random events. So this time we crashed a Husky football game. And we were just walking around with two handmaids and getting some photo ops, having a lot of people stare. This little child was adorable. I don't think she could read, but you know.
No,
she
but
was
that's
trying.
a great shot though. That is a great picture.
Yep. It's the same event. Lots of people stopped to take pictures
Yep.
of them.
Lots of purple.
Yeah. Go Huskies. Go Dogs. This is back at the Como protests from when they
For what it's worth, I
Took
do
him a
also want to say that I was very, very pleased by the number of the poofies that we saw at the protests in Olympia as well. I think that I very much support that as a thing, and Auntie and I both just agreed the next time we go to a protest, that's what we're going to do as well. So
Fire, thank you. Because I have noticed the further north you get from Portland, the less poofies we've been getting. We need more poofies.
we do. Because it shows a lack of violence, right? Like not trying to, but like when you see me, especially, because I'm not saying I had a Guy Fawkes mask, but if I did, you see a dude who's 6'2", 300 pounds, you know what I mean? I look like I'm ready to start some shit, right? I look like a guy who wants to get into a fight. If I'm walking around in a goddamn Pikachu outfit, there's no way you can think I'm here to start some shit. So
I will say it's always funny when tall people wear the inflatable costumes because a lot of them are not tall enough for tall people, so your legs stick out like little chicken legs.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yes.
All right. Yeah, this is more of that event, as you can tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel. What do I got?
Not that I want to put it. Not that I want to put an end on it, but I do still want to ask some questions for you at the end of this.
That was the last of my pictures.
That was perfect. Couldn't have timed that better, my dude. All right. So now we've only got about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to give you the exact same question that I gave Cypher to tie it up. You have a magic wand, Gorps. I have given you a magic wand. What would you use that wand to do specifically? What are the top 3 things that you think could happen that would make America great again? That would put America back on the course that we need to be? That would bring us back to a place that you would be proud to call yourself a member of? And you can take a second if you need to. Yeah, that's okay. Yes, Circa, I am indeed. I don't know that I'm your height, but I am my height. And my height is 6'2".
Okay. For relevancy, to start, I would abolish ICE and bring back, I'm blanking on the name of it, but the organization that effectively was ICE before ICE
NHS.
existed.
NHS, NHI,
Yes,
NIH. Yeah, whatever.
There's an I in there somewhere.
Yeah, NIH, that's it.
Yes, I would abolish ICE, bring back NIH instead. I would end foreign military intervention and foreign military aid.
Ooh, and aid.
Yes. You said I got 3 things?
You got one more, buddy. One more wish. What are you going to ask the genie for? You can't ask for more wishes.
Why not? What the fuck? I think that I would fully release the Epstein files, only redacting the names of victims and nothing else.
Wait, you mean like the law fucking said? Is that what you're talking about, Gorps?
That's actually further than the law says.
Oh, really? I thought that it was fully released with the exception of the redaction of the victims' names and faces.
And with the exception of any ongoing investigations, and with the exception of anything that is harmful to national security. That is the current law. I say everything. Just don't release the victims' names. I guess also don't release like the addresses, phone numbers, and social security numbers of victims either. But everything else out. I don't care if it's under investigation. I don't care if it's a matter of national security. Put it out.
Well, there you go. I definitely agree with all of those, and I'm definitely going to if I find myself with a lamp. And I rub that lamp correctly, I will ask for all 6 of the wishes that you and Cypher put together, because I think it's interesting y'all both agree on abolishing ICE and or bringing back the precursor. He did not mention Epstein or foreign interventionism, but...
what were his other 2 answers? I was not paying attention at the end.
Election reform. So no more first past the post. abolish ICE, and a Truth and Reconciliation Committee. So, yeah.
Interesting choices.
Yeah. Again, I don't.
He's a pedophile because he didn't want to release the files, by the way. That's it. End of story.
Not cool. Not cool. You take it back. That's not a nice thing to say.
I'm kidding.
I
I'm
know.
kidding, chat.
I know, but still, that's those are accusations you do not throw around. Okay, so, but that said, I do, speaking of accusations and conspiracies, we're about to put a bow on this because it's coming up on my bedtime, and I appreciate the fuck out of you coming in tonight. I really mean that. Thank you very much. And thank you for sitting for this. This is my first time doing the one-on-one interview things, and I definitely think I'm going to stick with doing this every Thursday. This was a blast. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I hope I didn't.
I've never been interviewed, so.
Well, now you can no longer say that. So I do have one more thought before we raid out and part ways, and this is as much to Chad as it is to you as it is to everybody. I mentioned in the Discord that the first 9 people who reach out, well, the first 8 people, because I guess I am number 9, who are interested and available tomorrow night, I am going to be doing a panel about Joe Kent. Given the fact that you are a Washingtonian, I'm guessing you probably have some specific thoughts on old Joe Kent. But I assume you heard the Tucker Carlson interview, correct? So
do it at work today.
Yeah. So I'm actually thinking we might put on at least clips of it in the panel tomorrow night, as well as you guys know, I am still a paid member of Breaking Points. Sagar and Jetty is going to be interviewing Joe Kent as well tomorrow, and he said that he is going to be really digging into the Charlie Kirk statements. So we might just stick with watching that one. I don't know, but either way, if you would be interested.
Is that full yet?
No, it is not.
Do you have all 9 people? Oh, well.
And that's what I was about to say. If you're interested, I will put you at the head of the. All right, cool. Well, then in that case, tomorrow night should be about 7:00 is when I'm going to start it. So that way I got time to get home and get fed and all that jazz. And we're probably going to run that one a little bit later than tonight. We'll probably run that one all the way to midnight. But everybody out there in the chat as well, especially all of you collaborators and fellow streamers, just hit me in the DMs if you are interested in joining in tomorrow night, 7:00, for a Joe Kent discussion. And yeah, I think we'll get all the way into it.
I have to tell you and chat, I have been cackling at NPR's coverage of the Joe Kent situation.
Why is that? What happened, and what did they do?
They have been leaning in, at least their shows, like their podcast shows, have been leaning into that Joe Kent is a big conspiracy theorist and that this might be anti-Semitism. It pissed me off too.
So I am sure that everybody here has heard me say this before. I'm going to say it one more time just for the last thought. But just because you are criticizing Israel does not mean you are criticizing Jewish people. And I think it's really interesting how it seems like it's based on convenience when those two things are tied. And I don't think that that's fair for the conversation or for equity. Feels to me like it's more racist for you to assume that somebody is insulting the race of Jewish whenever I am talking about the nation of Israel. So, but that's just my personal take on it. And it's possible, again, I haven't heard the whole thing, but if it does turn out that the foreign agency, I think, which is the accusation that he made, if it does turn out that the foreign agency was the Israeli government or their intelligence organization, who will remain unnamed, then yeah, I feel like you don't get to tell us that it is that we're racist, because if it's true, you know what I mean? Like, that's just my take.
Cypher, just repeat in your head what Radish just said to your comment about the Iraq War. Just repeat in your head what Radish just said.
What is tag? Remind me, what is tag?
Tag?
Yes, I've been seeing that lately as well. TAG. What does that mean? Transcendental argument? Guy?
Transcendental argument for God.
Transcendental argument for God. Got you. Okay. You're saying, wait a minute, Cypher, you're saying that Joe Kent is just legitimately anti-Semitic? Like beyond whatever conversation we're going to listen to him talk about tomorrow?
Well, Joe Kent's a bad guy. Joe Kent's like
Yeah,
there.
I know.
He's like borderline white nationalist.
And I'm not surprised. Exactly. That's the thing. Like trust me, I am not a fucking Joe Kenta stan. He tried running for office here in the state of Washington and it didn't, I don't remember how it went, but I don't think it went that. Yeah, it did not go well for him. That's what I thought.
But every time I've asked somebody what the anti-Semitic thing that he said is, they always end up bringing me back his criticisms of Israel, which, by the way, he's also defended at many points. So
yeah, and like I said,
he's defended Israel at many points.
I want tomorrow night to not only listen to this interview with Sagar, but I also want to kind of get into who he is, why he was a bad guy in the first place, and why we think that he would be willing to suddenly have principles and a spine. Like, I feel like this is something that's worth a group conversation, and I don't want us to do it tonight. Yeah. All right, cheers.
I could talk all night about it.
Yeah, I figured as much. Does anybody have any suggestions for raid outs? Anybody we know streaming? What do we got? Somebody make a suggestion. He blamed Israel for the war in Iraq.
Rezi is live. Do you know Rezi?
I do not. Give me a link and I will find them. What are they called? Rezi?
I just put it in chat.
All right.
To his mother on certain subjects. We're not going to agree with our mother on everything. People become their own human beings and adults. I just think the angle that Piers Morgan approached this interview on was just completely off from the start.
All right. This is a real human being, right? Reservoir.
Yes.
All right, cool. Yeah, cheers.
Every once in a while he shows his face.
Rock and roll. All right. I guess we're going to find out. Obviously, it's somebody who is also in the political sphere. Otherwise, Gorps wouldn't know who the fuck they were. So I am good with this. Let's go see what they're about, and everybody be polite. Please represent the community properly, and I will see all of y'all tomorrow night. Again, let me know if you guys want to talk to me about the Joe Kent thing. Everybody be nice, and see y'all tomorrow night. Cheers. Thanks again, Gorps. And thanks again, Cypher. I appreciate the hell out of both of y'all. Talk to y'all soon. All right. There we go.
Good job, team.
Yeah, great job.